Oh, he's long and left. And he's right at the second cut.
Vern, this is extremely difficult. This is one of the toughest pitches on the entire place here.
Here it comes. Oh, my goodness. In your life have you seen anything like that?
It is time, ladies and gentlemen. It is that time of year. Diesel today, weather permitted, they were able to start this thing. It is running a little bit late, but they were able to tee off this morning. This is Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I am Cole Bryson, and it is Masters time. What a wonderful time. What I love, Diesel, most about the Masters is, even for someone like me who's not a golf guy, it is significant to me, and every year I make it a priority. I wish the other PGA tours throughout the year did the same thing, but the Masters draws, kind of like March Madness, it draws everybody.
Yes, it really, really does, man. This is one of the best days in sports. If you're a golf fan, this is your Super Bowl. This is your Daytona 500. This is what golf is supposed to be. This is the course that probably takes the best care of its patrons that come out. And, you know, there's just something special about Augusta National and about watching those guys hit these putts, walking across that bridge,
Yep.
and then putting on that green jacket at the end.
So the reason that we led with the Vern Lundquist audio is this, Diesel, is Vern Lundquist's final Masters. He calls it a career. So longtime CBS broadcaster Vern Lundquist will call it a career. This 2024 Masters, he has had some iconic moments. Since 1983, Vern has been on the call from Augusta National. Diesel, 1983. This is his 40th tournament overall on the microphone. And, man, we've heard, you and I and everyone else that loves college football and other sports have heard Vern Lundquist. This is kind of, bittersweet for him because he's one of the best to ever do it, man.
I'm going to say –
Go ahead.
I'm going to say no, he can't retire. He's not allowed.
I like it.
He's not allowed. You know what? You're going to have to work for us forever, Vern. We love you that much.
It won't be
We're
the
not
same.
gonna let you go.
It will not
No.
be the same. So he's had iconic calls with Tiger Woods. I just played those two calls. One of the most iconic calls is from 2005, but so many headlines to get to today. We appreciate you being a part of the program. He's Diesel again. I'm Cole Bryson. This is Wire to Wire. 71307 is the way you can get in touch with the show via text. Start your text with the word fan, and the phone line's 844-FAN-PHONE. What are you most looking forward to, Diesel, about the Masters this weekend?
I'm looking forward to seeing the LIV and the PGA guys go head to head. I'm looking forward to finally having all of golf's biggest stars back on the course together. I mean, it feels wrong, right? When you watch tournaments nowadays,
yeah,
and you look at the leaderboard and you think, man, there's only one or two guys out there who really have a chance to win this thing. There are only one or two or three legitimate stars on the course right now. We got all the stars together right now, and that's great. It's great to see Tiger back out there. We'll see, how he holds up. We're going to fight about that coming up in the 5 o'clock fight, whether or not Tiger Woods has what it takes to make the day 3 cut. It's just, it's kind of it's hard to describe. It's a mix of everything. What makes the Masters special? Like I said, they take care of their patrons. It's so hard to get in. It's so hard to get your ticket there. And people work for years and years and years to try to get tickets into the Masters. And then when you get there, they could gouge you. They could charge you $20 for a drink, $30 for a cocktail, but no, they don't. They just take care of the people who come out there so well. All of it really kind of comes together to make this thing so special.
Do you think this is Tiger's last Masters?
No, I don't think it's Tiger's last.
You don't think so?
No, Tiger, he's what, 50 years old? How old is Tiger Woods?
It's close.
So, I mean, he still has the youth to get out and play.
It's just a matter of making the cut or not.
He's 48 years old. And obviously he's gone through, a lot of physical issues with his hip and everything since the car accident. I think Tiger will still be out there playing for a number of years. You know, he may ultimately just end up being kind of a mascot. He goes out there.
He needs to be there.
He waves his hat in the air, exposes a big bald spot, and, makes the crowd happy, and they'll keep coming out. I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be a massive hole in the game when Tiger eventually hangs it up for good. And that's something that we will get into a little bit later on in this segment here. The question is, can golf, capital G golf, can golf be successful without Tiger Woods? Can it be sustainable? Can it be even, a large portion of what it was at Tiger's height? I don't know. I think when Tiger goes, something really special about this sport is going to go with him.
That is why I asked you the question, Diesel, because I agree that they better, even though he may not be at the top of his game, they better figure out a way to keep him around for as long as possible, because I agree with you 100%. You're exactly right. The moment he's done, even though he's not at the top of the game, there is a huge hole, and nobody wants that. No golf guy wants that. The PGA doesn't want that, right? He's been the face of the PGA for how long now? So it will be something that will be, we talk about it all the time. When Michael retired from the NBA, when LeBron retires one day, there's going to be a massive hole there. And for Tiger, it's going to be the same situation. I don't want to see it as someone who's not even a golf guy, because to be honest with you, Diesel, Tiger's probably a big reason a lot of people have gotten into the game of golf, right? Without him, who would be? I mean, without him and without what he did for a better part of 2 decades, the game of golf right now wouldn't even be close to what it is.
There's a little boy named Diesel, unleaded at the time, Diesel now. I grew up 50 yards from a golf course, from a driving range, and when I saw Tiger Woods out there, a young guy doing something spectacular, I thought to myself, I got to get my dad's clubs out of the basement. I got to go hit a couple of golf balls. So there's a reason Tiger did get me into the game. Didn't stick until I was in my mid 30s when I actually started playing. But, there was 12, 15-year-old me who was out there swinging clubs because of Tiger.
844 fan phone. That's 844-326-3663. Bobby wants to chime in on the conversation. Bobby, what's up, man?
Hey, good afternoon. How are y'all?
We're wonderful, man. It's Masters time. Are you excited?
I'm excited. Listen, I heard you talking about the golf, and I was laying there last night, and I was so excited for today, and so I wrote a little poem about the Masters. So I thought I'd call today and see if I could share it with y'all.
Well, sure, Bobby. Be more than happy to. Hey, I'll do you one better. Go ahead, Bobby.
Right.
Ready when you are.
Okay. His body is worn. His body is tattered, but with the strength of a bull, he is yet to shatter. For years we thought that the end was near, only for that Sunday red to soon reappear. Our hopes are as high as they have ever been. We've been here before, oh haven't we, my friend? There were the days when he reigned supreme. Augusta even had to change its course for a golfer so lean. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Augusta seemingly stands still, giving youth to the aging a chance at a final thrill. He told us this week, there's a reason I'm here, and if all goes well, the roars you will hear. In the morning we'll see Tom, Gary, and Jack. They'll stand on the first tee and give it a mighty whack. Then the field is off and away in pursuit of a jacket at the end of Sunday. And when the smoke settles, the fighting is done. We hope that golf's greatest player is basking in the sun. So here's to another run on golf's grandest stage, as we hope that Tiger can turn back the page.
Wow. Bobby,
Standing ovation, Bobby.
I have to give you a lot of credit, sir, because I was expecting that to turn childish and immature. And like every single phrase.
No. Just like Augusta, we keep it very professional. And like I say, this is the greatest week of the year.
Bobby, you win the award for the best call of the week.
Best phone call we've had on the show yet.
Absolutely.
Put him on the tippy top of the leaderboard. We should have a leaderboard.
I like it.
We should have a leaderboard of calls. Bobby, you are officially number 1 on the leaderboard right now.
Thanks, Bobby.
Well, I appreciate it. You guys do a great job. Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Bobby.
Was that not incredible?
That's great. No, we need to edit that out. We need to make a promo out of that. And we need to have a legitimate leaderboard of calls.
I love the leaderboard idea.
See if anybody can top that call.
I'll go ahead and tell you right now, that's never getting topped.
Really?
That is never getting topped.
I don't know.
Diesel,
We've had
that
some great
was
ones on the station
incredible. Wow.
before. Yeah.
I almost don't feel like he came up with it. It was so good, you know?
Did you ever hear the call of the guy who sang a song about the South Carolina president who was drunk, Bob Caslin, when he was drunk at the commencement speech?
I didn't.
Oh, it said they did it to the Cheers theme. He rewrote the Cheers theme, and he wrote a song about Bob Caslin getting the name of the school wrong. Oh.
Wow. That's great, man. He's at the leaderboard, Bobby. That was absolutely incredible. Before we do wrap this segment up, because you brought up Tiger, I want to play two short clips of audio that are really impactful. Diesel, I think that when we talk about golf losing Tiger, when you hear him talk in this press conference from just a couple of days ago, this is why we talk about there being such a void whenever the day does come. This question was asked, and this is Tiger talking about his love of the game.
Tiger, with everything that you go through in your career right now, what makes you get up and go through all the preparation and all the, the things you have to go through to get ready to play top level major golf?
I love golf. I do. I've always loved it. I played other sports growing up, but I just have always loved this sport, and I'd love to compete and be able to have the love I have for the game and the love for competition be intertwined. I think that's one of the reasons why I've had a successful career. I just love doing the work. Love logging the time in, and I love preparing. I love competing, and I love that feeling when everything's on fire with a chance to win, and you either do or you don't.
So that's Tiger Woods when asked why he still does it, how he still does it. I thought that clip, very impactful, Diesel. But here's the one that really rings the bell for me. And I want to ask, after I play this, your opinion. This is 16 seconds. If you think Tiger is right when he says,
what do you feel like you're capable of doing this week? What do you believe that you can do this week?
If everything comes together, I think I can get one more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bombshell.
Yeah. He knows.
Can he?
There's only a few people out there I don't bet against. I don't bet against Tom Brady.
Sure.
I don't bet against Nick Saban. But at this point, I think I can bet against Tiger Woods.
Think so?
Yeah.
Think the ship sailed.
Look, everybody feels great going into the tournament. Everybody's, feeling nice. Everybody's, they've had the massages, they've had all the good work, and they're going to be fine out there for a round or two. But we've seen Tiger struggle to make it through, a 4-round tournament.
Sure.
That's very difficult for him to do. Number one, at 48, because you got to consider, as great as Tiger is, he is 48. And he's facing off against guys who are in their 20s who are knocking the snot out of the ball. But also he's had some major, major injuries that make walking that kind of distance tough. We saw him limping. Was it last year when he was limping down the course and we thought, man, this is gutsy, him out there doing this?
Well, I think last year he had a withdrawal, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but I think it was in the first
round.
He withdrew I think he withdrew midway through the third round.
Gotcha.
Year, I think.
Gotcha.
If anybody can correct me on that, please do. 71307. Start your text with keyword fan.
So what was the Diesel? I want to hear your story that you brought to the table with the golf ratings problem. With the AP golf having a ratings problem. I want to hear about that because I think it's very intriguing talking about Tiger and some of these young guys.
Yeah, as much as these young guys are names in golf, I think they are stars within golf. Tiger was a star outside of golf. And that's the big difference. Tiger brings people into golf. Those guys, the Justin Thomases, the Jordan Spieths, the Rory McIlroys, those guys like that, they are stars inside the game of golf. Tiger was a star outside of the game of golf. And there is a big time ratings problem going on with golf right now. And we're seeing in 1 year, nearly a third of golf's viewers going away. So, final round of the PGA Tour's Phoenix Open back in February lost 35% of its viewership from the 2023 to the 2024 tournament. The Arnold Palmer Invitational Bay Hill dropped 30% from 23 to 24. The Players Championship lost 15% of its viewership from 23 until 24. So, you're losing nearly a third at big major courses, big major tournaments. And people are just not watching the way that they used to. And part of that is because Tiger has fallen off. But that was inevitable. That was going to happen anyway, right? At some point, it was eventually going to happen. And we're also seeing so many of the game's biggest players not on the course, on these PGA courses. They're not on the tour. They're playing live golf. And now I don't know how to find live golf. I don't know how to watch.
I don't
live
either.
Golf. I'm not going to because I have my moral issues with live golf.
Right.
But some of the game's biggest stars, even guys that I was a fan of because they stuck around with the PGA, leaving the PGA, it's given me less reason to turn it on and watch.
That's a good point, though. Talking about live with some of the big golfers being, unable to watch. It is a really good point. 844-326-3663. Rick wants to chime in on the conversation. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I was up there yesterday and got involved in the Ingles little thing where
And he won, Rick. Has anybody reached out to you to tell you that
I
he won?
won. I know. Thank you, and I signed my little certificate and sent it back to you. So thank y'all for having the best. I even like this show even more than I like the other show.
We appreciate
It's a great show. And Cole, I'm a high school football fanatic. You make it the best. Also, I want to chime in on the Masters. It's the best tournament. I get to go on Saturday and Sunday every tournament, and I'll be down there for 2 days.
Wow.
Can you sponsor Cole and I as a guest? Can we figure out a way to make that happen? Because he and I, the way that we're dressed today, neither one of us is getting in.
My brother has the tickets. He goes 2 days. I go 2 days. So
that's sweet, man.
It's a wonderful tournament, and we don't know Tiger's going to make it because I want to see Tiger make it.
Hey, I hope you're right, Rick.
I
Hey,
hope he
appreciate
makes
the
it to
call
day
too.
3 so that you can see him out there live, Rick.
Yep.
Well, that's a good bet. What you can do is make a lot of money on Tiger if you just want to put a few dollars.
Sure.
I think Tiger is 61-1, 65-1 to make the cut.
That is, if you want to put a little bit of money, that is a good return. Rick.
$5 will win you 300.
Wow. We appreciate that, Rick. Hey, man, thanks for the call. Great seeing you yesterday.
Yes, sir, Rick. I appreciate that. And, hey, Rick, when you come by, make sure you hang out just a little bit longer so we can actually say hello to you. We saw you from a distance. We were on the air. I know you were busy, but next time, make sure you hang around just a little bit longer so we can actually say hello.
Are the odds really that bad on Tiger making the cut?
Yeah,
gosh.
Because what did he say? 65-1. There's gonna be a lot of people putting money on that and losing.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, the cut, we didn't really plan on talking about it here in this one, but the cut in the past, over the past couple of years, the cut has been somewhere around 6 over.
Wow.
So we have to think, can Tiger at his age with his health problems play around 6 over after 2 rounds? So that's going to be tough. Top 50 is the cut after round 2. Historically, the cut stays around 150 or 6 over par. He came close to that last year. He actually made the cut last year. Could he do it again this year? That will be really fascinating and interesting to watch. We are Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson live here from the Ingles Market Studios. You got something to say about the Masters? Call us up on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, 844-326-3663. When we come back, dive a little deeper into a conversation we had yesterday about so many big-time baseball players and pitchers leaving early for injured elbows and Tommy John surgery. Maybe it's not the pitch clock that's causing this. We'll talk about it next here on the Fan Upstate. Tolo's jumping the stream. However you like to stream the show, you can do it. You can do it on YouTube at The Fan Upstate, YouTube at Diesel on Radio, on Twitter from The Fan Upstate, at Diesel on Radio or The Cole Bryson, and also on The Fan Upstate's Facebook page. However you want to connect with us, we got a way for you, man. We got a way for you. Add to this. We got 50 people watching the stream right now. Let's get it up to 100 before we get to the end of this segment. That would be awesome.
Heck yeah, man.
Man, that would be really awesome. Some stuff to get to early in the show today. Some Daily Wires, the buzz going on out there. If you haven't heard yet, O.J. Simpson has passed away at the age of 76 years old following a fight with cancer. I wasn't even aware that he was fighting cancer.
Wasn't really public, was
No.
it? I mean, not well known.
I'd seen some of the ludicrous takes when he would jump on his social media and post videos. But I didn't know. I didn't know that he was battling this. So, we'll talk about that more in the in the next hour of the show. We'll get into this O.J. Simpson story in the next hour of the show. But you feel for his family because they just lost a father. So
absolutely, that's a good way to put it.
That's tough.
Yep.
Let's see. The WNBA has announced that 36 of the Indiana Fever's 40 regular season games will be on national television. They have the first pick in the draft. They will get Caitlin Clark, and she will be all over your television sets next year.
Do you know how many were on national television this year with the Indiana Fever?
I'm going to guess none.
One.
Wow.
Diesel, that is incredible.
Yeah.
36 national I mean, that is Caitlin Clark, man. I hope it continues. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we talked about the Caitlin Clark effect and what she may be able to do as she enters the WNBA. Well, I mean, it sure as heck helps put your team on television a lot more.
Sure.
Yeah, that really helps. Let's see. Number 3 here, former number 1 Major League Baseball prospect Jackson Holliday made his much anticipated debut for Baltimore on Wednesday night. You tell me more about him, Cole.
So if you know Matt Holliday, right, who played in the majors, Jackson, 21 years old, young kid, made his debut last night. He has a younger brother in high school as well. His dad, Matt, doesn't seem like that long ago that his dad was playing in the majors, and what a successful career he had. And this kid coming out of high school was, again, the number 1 prospect overall, Jackson Holliday, much anticipated in the MLB, and already being called up is absolutely huge for him. He did not get a hit, but he did. I think he had 1 RBI. He went 0 for 4 with 1 RBI last night in his debut. So he did punch in 1 run in the win over the Red Sox. And Jackson Holliday, man, if he's anything like his dad, that kid's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Plus, he's on a really, really good team.
Yep. The Masters are here. The Masters are underway. We've got a handful of groups that are finishing around number 16 right now. That seems to be about as far as they've gotten. There was a delay in starts this morning. Bryson DeChambeau now sits number 1 at -5 through 15 holes. Ryan Fox sits number 2 at -4 through 13 holes. You've got Willett 3rd. He's tied with On. John Rahm is 5th, tied with Scotty Scheffler. We'll keep you updated as the day goes along, what's happening out there on the course at the Masters. Ricky Fowler won the par 3 contest. No golfer has ever won the par 3 has gone on to win the Masters. So
good luck.
Something you don't want to win. Shohei Ohtani's ex-interpreter is facing federal charges with his gambling situation. Let's see. The Lady Gamecocks Championship Parade is set for Sunday. We'll get you details more on that throughout the show today. And Atlanta hosted New York today in a get-out-of-town game for New York, and the score is what time does that game?
I think it started at 12. Is that
12.
right? I'm looking right now. Hopefully it went good for the Braves. No, it did not. I'm not. All right. Next one.
Oh, come on.
It is 12-3 right now on the bottom of the 8th.
Ow.
Whew.
Okay. That's not good.
Not good.
And speaking of the Atlanta Braves, we talked yesterday about the elbow with the pitcher who sadly is going down with potential Tommy John surgery already for the Atlanta Braves. We have some data here. This comes out from Major League Baseball writer Travis Shawchick. He's a writer for The Score, author of the MVP Machine and Big Data Baseball. We talked yesterday about the surge in Tommy John surgeries and players who are out already early in the season with elbow injuries.
Right.
We also posited that maybe it's the pitch clock. is the reason why. The shortening of the pitch clock, these guys throwing faster, harder, throwing curveballs when, they're injuring their elbows doing that. Cole, there's some interesting data here, though, that proves that maybe the pitch clock, which we've all said this seems like it's the reason this is happening, may not actually be the reason.
Okay.
Tommy John surgeries early in the season are not that rare. This is again the graphic posted by Travis Sawchik, a Major League Baseball writer. He goes year by year from the year 2000. So we've got 24 years worth of data here to show just how many pro pitchers and how many major league pitchers are out for Tommy John surgery in the first 100 days of the calendar year. So that would be through first week and a half of April.
Right now, right?
Yeah, right now, right? We're right at the first 100 days in 2024. So I'm not going to go all the way back and give you every single year, make this exhaustive and spend the entire segment talking about this. But in the year 2000, 10 major leaguers had Tommy John surgery in the first 100 days of the year. In 2012, 6, 2013, 4, 2014, this is when it starts to get concerning. In the last 10 years, we've had a lot of guys going out early. So in 2014, 38 pro pitchers, and that includes across all levels of professional baseball, 38 pitchers needed Tommy John surgery, 11 of them major leaguers. In 2015, 9 major leaguers. 2021, 11 major leaguers. 2024, so far, 9 major league pitchers are out for potential Tommy John surgery issues this early in the season. So it seems to suggest, that the pitch clock, which is still only in its second season in Major League Baseball, may not be the reason why so many guys are being taken out early for Tommy John surgery. Maybe it's just something about, you're just not quite conditioned early in the season. And these guys are throwing every day. These guys are doing all the rehab they need to be doing. But it's possible that maybe, the pitch clock has nothing to do with it. And it's just early season, getting back into the swing of things, getting back acclimated. And it just happens.
So what's interesting about this is I see the data that you provided, and I kind of like we said yesterday, I don't know that I would correlate Tommy John's 100% to the pitch clock. I think the best answer that I've heard, Diesel, is some professional baseball players that don't play anymore. In an article I was reading the other day talking about Tommy John being inevitable. And if you look at the history that you have provided, right, if you go back and look over the years, all the way back to 2000, and it does start picking up a lot around the 2010 era, but there is no solution. There is no answer to eliminate Tommy John. There is no way. Again, the pitch clock, if you want to argue that it has 15 to 30, 45% of a negative impact, that's fine. But my point is, Tommy John is inevitable because of the velocity. We talked about it yesterday. When you have to use the velocity that these pitchers do and the unnatural motion of the arm, I don't know that even if there was no pitch clock, I still think maybe the numbers would be a little bit different, but I still think you'd have high numbers because the history has shown that. One texter chimes in and says Strider's is directly from the curveball that he developed this year. Well, how do you know that, texter? How do you know that it's directly from the curveball? That's an easy way to.
Could have been some pre-existing damage that he just exacerbated.
Well, he had
learning.
He had a Tommy John 5 years ago at Clemson. Yeah. So again, I know a lot of Braves fans. I've heard everything. It's the pitch clock. I've heard Strider's the curveball. I've heard it's just the way he kicks his leg. He has a very aggressive throwing motions. I've heard all kind of stuff about Spencer Strider. But the bottom line is we don't know. Nobody's ever going to know. And I don't think that, I don't want to compare it to the C word in terms of diseases, but I just think that this is one of those things, man, that if you're a pitcher and you're throwing an unnatural motion at 100 miles an hour, I don't think that's like saying, Diesel, you get on Woodruff Road and go 50 to 100 miles an hour with your eyes closed, you're going to hit something. It's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Yeah, you do the math here. I mean, we're averaging 7 major leaguers a year over the past decade having Tommy John surgery in the first 100 days of the year. So, I mean, it's the number's up there. There are years where it's higher. There are years that it's lower. You hate to see a guy like Spencer Strider getting taken out this early in the season, but it's like anything. It's a repetitive stress injury. We're doing this over and over and over and over and over again, hundreds of times every game, every day. And there's no amount of rest that can prevent something like this.
What are you going to do? Eliminate the curveball?
Yeah. I mean, you and I, we sit here and we talk 4 hours a day, every day. We're on the air 20 hours a week. Your voice gets tired.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens. And that's what happens with major leaguers in their arms and their elbows as well. There's just some guys, it's just, they seem to be more susceptible to it than others. And you can't really figure out why. I don't think it's as simple as saying, well, it's just the curveball. That's definitely the reason.
I hate it. I really do, because how many pitchers, 6 or 7 of the league's best pitchers this season already? That's no good for anybody.
They have to learn how to take it a little bit easier. They have to learn. But singers are the same way. Singers blow their voices out at young ages because, truthfully, your voice is not meant to do that much work.
Yeah.
And your elbow, all these ligaments and things inside your elbows are not meant to do this much work. They need to find ways to reduce the amount of pitches that they're throwing, the amount of innings that they're throwing, or how hard they're throwing, or probably all of the above, because that's how you keep the stars' biggest games out there playing. You have to lessen the workload. You can't keep asking them to do more and more and more and expect there not to be adverse effects. What do you say? 71307, you can text into the show. Just start your text with keyword fan. Let us know your thoughts on what we've given you here, the data about Tommy John surgeries.
Couple callers lined up wanting to get in on the conversation. We first go to Wes wanting to talk about Tommy John. Go ahead, Wes.
Hey, y'all. I'm wondering if maybe it has to do, since it's early in the season, the cool weather at nighttime.
I don't know. The crazy thing about it is nobody does know. Everybody wants to claim they do, but I don't.
Orthopedic surgeons to give us the answer to that question.
Sure.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you, Wes.
It's one of those things. Nobody wants to see it, but so far, as great technology as we have, Diesel, nobody's been able to solve it.
I mean, we have had a great text here that said, it's these kids are playing more ball at a young age. Travel teams are great, but they're playing a lot more. I mean, there has to be something to do with it there as well. You could look at the specialization of young athletes. Used to be when you were a kid, you played baseball during baseball season. You played basketball, you played football, you played soccer, you played whatever. So, you'd have body parts that would get rest because you're using something else in a different sport. Well, now we have hyper specialization. And, that means you're doing the same thing every day, more and more. I mean, look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods kept having back problems because of the sheer volume of swings that he was taking every single day from a young age. Some people just have the genetics. They can stand up to that kind of abuse on their body. Some people just don't.
That's a great text, by the way. We appreciate you chiming in. We'd love to hear you. We'd love to hear your call as well one day about that, because it's something that I hate. I think everybody hates it. The only solution is play softball. No softball pitchers have Tommy John because it's a natural motion. It's an unnatural motion, what baseball players do, and it just it's part of the game. It's no fun, but it is what it is. All right, real quick before the break, let's get to Dewey, who's been on hold. Dewey, go ahead, man.
Yes, I got a couple things to say. Tiger Woods is a fraud, and he should be kicked out of golf. And then everyone who's getting having Timmy John surgery, they're on steroids. That's why they're having Timmy John surgery all the time.
Thank you, Dewey. We appreciate you.
It's called Timmy Jim's surgery. Timmy Jim.
Always entertaining from Dewey. We appreciate that. All right, continue to get your thoughts in that. We might get back to that on this very show, Wire to Wire. Coming up next, Diesel, the hammer has dropped for Shohei Ohtani's interpreter. A lot of news coming out today on the federal charges that he has been accused of. We'll talk about it next. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. Well, it looks as if Shohei Ohtani, Diesel, is going to get off, as Pete Rose said, scot-free.
If only, Pete said if only he had an interpreter.
That's right. Only if he had an interpreter. All right. So, breaking news today. Shohei Ohtani's ex-interpreter, keyword X, faces. Yes. Say that 10 times fast. And he faces federal charges, sources say. And 6 minutes ago, we got a notification that says from ESPN, feds say Shohei Ohtani's ex-interpreter, Ipe, stole more than $16 million over 2 years from Shohei Ohtani to pay gambling debts.
Where did the other money come from? So the number we got was $4.5 million, right? We had a number of about $5 million. So where'd the other $11 million in this allegation, in this report, come from?
And that's over 2 years. I don't know.
How dumb do you have to be to let somebody take $16 million out of your accounts?
There's so many questions I have, and that's one of them.
I'm not buying it. I know that they're trying to tie this thing up in a bow.
Yep.
And they're trying to make it so that it never had, like, it's not Shohei's fault.
Yep.
See, he's still the golden boy. That's the ultimate goal here, is to make him still the golden boy so they can still make money off of him. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Anybody who has a brain cell in their brain that functions is going to notice $16 million coming out of their account.
You would think, I mean, I know Shohei has a ton of money, but you would think that $16 million would be enough to get a notification, you know? I mean, I get notifications on mine. What is it, the Shohei not, you know?
Yeah.
So this is fascinating. The guy's 39 years old. The investigation started just 3 weeks ago when news broke that at least $4.5 million, as you said, Diesel, was transmitted from Ohtani's bank account to a California bookmaker under federal investigation. I do not, again, as I said, I have so many questions, but I'll first say I do not buy the whole story of Shohei not knowing about any of this.
Yeah.
There's no way, man. Like, he has to see money moving.
You have to be a total idiot to not see $16 million.
Do you not look at your bank account, Diesel, when you're a billionaire?
It's almost like he didn't even know his own password. He just gave it to Ipe. Like, hey,
Sure.
You take care of my money.
Yeah, as long as my card works when I swipe it, I'm happy, right?
Did you know that Dane Cook, his brother, stole all of his money?
No.
The comedian Dane Cook?
Yeah.
Yeah, he made a ton of money as a comedian.
Mm.
His brother stole it all.
Happens.
Yeah, but even he noticed. He
Sure.
noticed that it was gone.
That is not good. So he will now be facing federal charges. The New York Times reported Wednesday that prosecutors have uncovered evidence that Ipe may have stolen more money, obviously, than the 4.5. This is where it jumps from 4.5 to 16. Ipe changed the settings. Listen to this, Diesel. This gets great, really juicy. Ipe changed the settings on Ohtani's bank account so Ohtani would not receive alerts or communications about transactions, the Time reports. Ipe has not been seen publicly since returning to California from South Korea. The Times reported he was stopped by law enforcement officials after getting off the plane, but was not arrested. He is a smart thief. He turned off the notifications. But I guess Shohei doesn't check it. I mean, really?
Yeah, you never I'm going to go buy a Maserati today.
Yeah.
Maybe I should check the account just to make sure that I've got the money there in the account so that it doesn't bounce. He does never once thought. And he's a Major League Baseball player. He should, God, I hope, would have financial people watching his accounts.
You would think. What would happen?
I don't buy it, man. There's no level of naivete that leads to this point. Like there is only complicity. There's complacency and there's complicity. Nobody's that complacent.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it, man. This is, I know that they're making Ipe the scapegoat.
Here's what I want to know, Diesel, if what we're told is true. But let's say, for example, they did find wagers placed on baseball. Would this be any different because evidently we're supposed to believe now that $16.5 million was wagered, but not on baseball.
Yeah, you're telling me that this guy is an interpreter for one of the game's biggest stars.
Yeah.
He's connected to it and close to it every single day. It's what he knows best, right? Because he is in it every single day. He never once said, you know what? Let's put 100,000 on the Dodgers today. Let's put 100,000 on the Angels. Let's put 100,000 on the Mariners. Not once.
I'm with you. I find it hard to believe. Panda on Twitter says the same thing. Shohei didn't know 16 million was missing. Find that hard to believe that nobody associated with him. He also goes on to say, find that hard as heck to not buy it. MLB will stand with the Ipe story so they don't have to ban the most remarkable player ever. Yeah. We both said that, hadn't we? We agree, man. He's the scapegoat. He's the guy that's going down for it. You know, he is the fall guy.
And you're right. We haven't seen him. We haven't heard from him directly. I mean, what is he getting out of the deal? Or is he just totally getting screwed? You know, is he getting sent to the penal colony, never to be heard from again? I mean, to agree to this story, and I'm not saying, of course, he's not innocent in this. He was involved. He was the one placing the bets.
Sure.
But I mean, we need to hear from him. We need to hear it directly from him to say, I did this. And we also got to know, like, what's he getting out of it? What does he get for saying that I did this? What's he getting from Shohei to basically say he was completely innocent? It was all me.
What blows my mind more than anything, Diesel, is the fact that even if it was Ipe placing the bets, the fact that the bank statements were going to an illegal bookie and had whose name? Shohei's name on the bank statements. Man, any other player's getting in trouble for this.
You know,
I mean, come on.
This is going to be another one of those things that erodes Americans' confidence in baseball. We're all losing confidence now that the money in these leagues, in every major league, has gotten so astronomical. And now that every third commercial you watch on any website or broadcast of a sporting event is gambling. This is going to happen more and more and more.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, it's eroding a lot of people's confidence in the things that we used to hold as the pillars of our society.
A good tease for our 420 guest while we're on the topic. Robert Lenahan, good friend of mine. He is a regulatory writer and editor for XL Media. He writes and covers sports gambling. That's what he does for a living. We will be joined by Robert at 420. A ton to get to. He sent out a couple of tweets earlier today that were fascinating about illegal money, illegal bookies. So it's fascinating. I stand by what I said in the fact that if this were any other minor league guy or your average major league player, Diesel, I just think that I think there would be a hammer drop. But luckily, you know, for Shohei's image and his marketability, there's nothing that links him to it. I guess the MLB just believes him.
I guess it's brilliant at this point that we are led to believe that Shohei can't speak English for himself. Like, we've asked the question, why won't you just get out there and learn the language? And that way you can be the public who watches baseball can watch you trying. They can watch you and they can love you even more because you're trying to learn the language and because you're fumbling it, and you know, people will like you more for it. This is brilliant. Now he can hide behind it and say, "Oh, I don't speak the language. Sorry, guys, I cannot answer for myself because I don't speak the language."
I wonder. That's a good point. Before we go to break, I wonder
there's this language wall between him and us, and he refuses to step over it.
If this were to have happened to someone who speaks American English, I wonder how different everything would be. Because you're right.
Would media be hounding them constantly?
That's what I'm saying. Shohei kind of has a wall to hide behind, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if he knew English, he sure as heck ain't going to be like, oh, by the way, I know English. You know?
Yeah.
No English. You know? That's the first thing out of his mouth, because he didn't have to answer those questions. Now, he did have a press conference when all this came out 2 weeks ago, but he didn't answer a question.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Has he answered a question about this yet? Has anybody asked Shohei Ohtani about this?
Reach back out to what was his name? The guy that works for NBC. Los Angeles
yeah.
that we had on, and ask him like, are the media out there still hounding him over this?
It's a good
or
question.
Have they let it go?
It's a very good question.
And I'd be disappointed if the answer is that they've let it go.
One Tolo, real quickly, Diesel says, I still don't understand why players can't make bets on their sport as long as they don't bet on their team. Well, the reason for that is because they know other players who play for other
They
teams.
have inside information. They
Sure.
have inside knowledge. They can pass things along that a normal, everyday gambler wouldn't, couldn't, and shouldn't know. That's why you can't do it. When we come back, one of the most infamous sports stars of the past 50 years has passed away. We'll talk about it next. I'm Diesel. He's Cole Bryson. This is Wire to Wire, and we are the Fan Upstate.
change that or put a title there.
Tiger Woods has just teed off on the first at the Masters in the 354 group. He's grouped up today with Jason Day and Max Homa. 406, you got Brian Harmon, Brooks Koepka, and Tom Kim. 418, Jordan Spieth, Ludwig Alberg, and Shahith Thegala. And at 430, Dustin Johnson, Colin Morikawa, and Tommy Fleetwood. So still a handful of big names who have not yet teed off in the first round here at the Masters. But a quick look at the leaderboard for those of you who love golf and who love the Masters. Bryson DeChambeau is leading the pack right now, -7 through 17 holes. He is tattooing the ball, blistering the field. Willett is tied for second at -4 with Fox and On. Let's see here. John Rahm is tied for fifth at -2. Scotty Scheffler tied with him again at -2. We'll get deeper and deeper into these as the rounds progress. A lot of these guys, midway through the course, around hole 8 or 9, and as that progresses, we will keep you up to date. But a big name in sports, an infamous name in sports, lost his battle with cancer today. O.J. Simpson, dead at the age of 76. I could ask, do you think he did it? Everybody seems to have a very, very strong opinion as to whether he did it or not. I genuinely don't know. I try very hard not to form an opinion on whether or not I think OJ did it and killed his wife and Ron Goldman, but it's really hard. That's one of the earliest memories I have, Cole, of a cultural phenomenon, a news story really invading my childhood, because I was 10. Mm-hmm. I was 10 years old when the OJ chase happened. That happened June 17th, 1994. He started trial in 1995. So many things, so many careers were made out of the OJ Simpson trial that if you weren't there, if you didn't watch it, if you didn't consume this stuff every day, and you couldn't go anywhere without hearing about OJ. You couldn't turn on any television station, pick up any magazine, any newspaper without hearing the day's latest gossip about the O.J. Simpson trial. It was that big of a cultural phenomenon. For me, it was the disappearance of Jean-Benet Ramsey. It was the O.J. Simpson trial, and it was watching Desert Storm live on TV. Like, those are the things. Those are the first big news stories that I remember as a child, that kind of woke me up out of childhood. That kind of taught me there is a big, dark, scary world out there that's going on. And you couldn't get away from it. It's one of those things that no matter what you did, you were consuming this each and every day. So I'd love to know from you, the Tolos, what are the earliest social, political events that you remember happening? And usually for a lot of us, it's the things that happen around age 8, 9, 10 years old is kind of when you start, paying attention to the world and what's going on around you. What were those first big events? You can text into the show, 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. You can call us on the Renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone line, 844-326-3663, or you can get into the comment section on the live stream. Tell us, what were the first big political news events that you remember as a child? So, Cole, you're 27, so not great at math here. You weren't even alive for the OJ trial.
Correct. And I do not, and because of that, I don't have a great recollection of it. However, a couple of things. Number one, I think this is a good lesson for everybody, including myself a lot of times. I don't think people always have to have an opinion on everything. I think sometimes it's okay to not have an opinion. Now, if you want to have an opinion on whether he did it or not, that's great. That's fine. That's whatever floats your boat, right? My point is, sometimes when you talk about things like this with OJ, if you're close to my age or closer to your age, Diesel, having an opinion on it and getting into it with someone like you've seen on social media today, sometimes it's just not necessary. And I think that in the world we live in, with people having a platform on Facebook and Twitter and a avenue to share their voice and for their voice to be heard, I feel like Diesel people think they have to have an opinion. So first of all, you don't have to have an opinion on everything. Second of all, I don't care if you did it or not. I'll tell you what I am fascinated about. I am fascinated about the fact that there have been a lot of people today on Twitter and on their radio shows and on television shows that have opened this topic up, opened this can of worms up, and led with OJ the murderer, OJ the accused murderer, right? So my fascination, Diesel, lies in this. Is it okay to, because as you said earlier, I thought you said it well, his family, you know what, they're dealing with a loss, right? But is it okay to open this story up, to lead with this story and classify OJ? Like when we have a guest on, we say, Robert Linehan of so-and-so. A lot of people today have brought OJ's name up in their show or tweet, and the first thing, OJ Simpson, the accused murderer. That's what fascinates me. Is that crossing the line?
Yes, I think it is, because look, we have one of the bedrock tenets of being an American is innocent until proven guilty. And whatever it is you think about the trial, however you think that was handled, however you think the defense was masterful in their methodology of either defending OJ or bamboozling the jury into having some doubt, he's still a human being.
He is.
And he was acquitted of the crime. And I mean, there have been millions and millions of people ever since the trial ended who refuse to believe that there's no way that he didn't do it. Or there's no way that he didn't do it. So people just assume that even though there's a jury of his peers who heard all of the evidence in much greater detail than any of these people ever did, they just think, I know better. I know better. He did it.
Yeah.
He did it. And that's not true. I mean, he
may have. We don't know.
He may have, but a jury was convinced, or there was enough doubt that he didn't do it. Now, Cole, I would say you should probably go back and watch. There was a 4-part documentary called OJ Made in America.
I've seen it.
I think it's one of the finest sports documentaries I've ever seen, because it's not just about OJ, the football player, and what happened that night and the subsequent trial. I mean, it goes deep into the socioeconomic conditions of the time from which he came out of. And then it went deep into his early career, and it maybe tried to explain or qualify some of the things that were in his psyche. Because, I mean, OJ was one of the first black celebrities who was accepted by white America.
Sure.
And I know I made the similarity, or I cast the similarity the other day between OJ and Tiger Woods. And Tiger Woods was able to transcend his ethnicity and become a worldwide star and a beloved worldwide star because of his talent and because of his charisma. And that's exactly what OJ, the football player, did. So, I mean, again, I caution against people who go straight to, he's a murderer, he did it, because he's still a human being who was acquitted of a trial. And at what point do we just say, you know what? Maybe the jury knows better than I do. Well, maybe he didn't do it.
The reality of it is, Diesel, and I hear you. You're absolutely right. But the reality of it is, the way that society has been formed over the past, 3 decades, people have to believe one side. I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying people feel like they have to believe a side. Great example to bring it more relevant with the Murdaugh trials, right? Sure. It caught this area by storm, and everybody you talk to, what do? They have to pick a side, right? What's the first question you ask? You think he did it? You think he did it? Same thing with OJ. So
I don't know. I haven't seen the evidence.
Well, what's interesting is, with the way the government's set up, guys like Murdaugh, guys like OJ, when they do die, sure, there could be somebody out there that knows something. But in my opinion, what's very fascinating is that secret goes to the grave, man. Like it really does. And whether he did it or not, I don't know. But, I think then sometimes in life there are just going to be some things that We never know.
There's been so many things that have entered our American social zeitgeist, even because of this trial. You know, there's the sensationalizing of celebrity trials.
Sure.
That was one of the first ones where the cameras were allowed into the courtroom and it was televised every single day. We got in excruciating detail the court proceedings every single day from the OJ trial. That was something that was very unique and very, something that hadn't happened before that trial happened. We had, the Kardashians are famous because of OJ Simpson. Consider that for a minute. Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, the TV shows, the gigantic fake butts, all of that. None of that would be in our culture if it weren't for OJ Simpson. So there's the if the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
Sure.
That line,
just a video of him doing it.
Just a video of him trying this on. And like we all got this sense of things that defense attorneys will do to try to misdirect and potentially fool a jury into believing something that maybe is not exactly the truth. So we got a much deeper view into what happens in these big trials because of the OJ Simpson trial. And then, the crazy thing is, after that happened, he was found guilty in the civil suit. He had to pay a ton of money. I can't fathom how that turn happened. You're acquitted of the murder, and then you go to a civil trial and you're found liable for it. Well, wait a minute. Why do I have to give up a ton of money for something that a jury of my peers say I didn't do?
Yeah.
And, so I know the Goldman family, because they believe with all their heart, the Goldman and the Brown family believe with all their heart that OJ did it. They said, we are going to take every single dime from him we possibly can. And part of that, I understand the pain that they're going through.
Yeah.
But it feels wrong to be able to put OJ through that if he was found not guilty of the crime.
Yeah.
And then after the fact, we put him in jail for 9 years for going back and trying to acquire property that legally belonged to him. I mean, there was so many fascinating layers to this story that just kept building and building and building. And, again, I would love to hear from you guys.
A lot of thoughts coming in on the text line. One texter says the LA riots was the first to answer your question. Did you let off the segment with Diesel? Another texter says, first big news event, Atlanta child murder in the 80s. Everyone in Georgia and South Carolina and Alabama were afraid. And then another texter, Tolo, swine flu scared the piss out of me back in the day. ... OJ did it, says Tolo Phil. Tolo Phil, we appreciate you associating Tolo with your name. You understand how to text in. That's a job well done.
He understood the assignment.
He did. Billy D says OJ was great in the Naked Gun movies. Spur Daddy, I think OJ's buddy that was driving the white Bronco did it, and OJ was an accessory. And also goes on to say, I know the Bronco chase interrupted me from watching the 1994 NBA Finals between the Knicks and the Rockets. Billy D, multiple people think OJ got off free because of the police that beat Rodney King got off free. So a lot of thoughts coming in.
That's why I find that documentary so fascinating, because there's the things that, like, me as a 10-year-old when this was happening, I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand all of the cultural minutia that led up to this situation.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really fascinating. Texter, this is wrong. Texter, this text is wrong.
God,
read it anyway.
Read it. You got to.
It's dark, but it's funny. It really is. Texter says the glove didn't fit, but the casket does.
Jeez. Is it okay to make those kind of jokes? Is it too soon?
Yeah, no, it's okay to make those kind of jokes.
I saw one on Twitter today that was pretty bad. When the OJ news came out, somebody quoted the tweet and said, well, another candidate for the Kentucky basketball job out of question. Where do people make this stuff up at, man?
You people.
I mean, come on.
There's something wrong with you. Again, I to everybody, go back and watch that OJ Made in America.
It is good.
There's a handful of those ESPN 30 for 30s that I love. Pony Excess was one of my favorite ones, but OJ Made in America, I thought was just the absolute best.
What's interesting is about the whole thing, whether you think you did it or didn't do it. I think the most interesting part is the fact that as I said just a few minutes ago, we'll never know. We may never know.
We may never know, but hey, you can never take whatever you think about him as a human being. You can never take away the athlete that he was.
Oh, sure.
He averaged 143.1 yards per game, still ranks as the highest rushing average in NFL history. And you know the NFL loves seeing his name at the top of that list. You
Do
know
they?
every time somebody gets close, they're like, man, OJ, still there.
Still there. And he might be there for a long time.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to one of my favorite guests. He's Robert Linehan. He is a regulatory writer and editor for XL Media. He writes and covers sports gambling for a living. How fun that must be. You can find him on Twitter at @RLinehanXL. We'll talk to Robert. A ton to get to, and Robert is on the forefront of it all. Next, he's Diesel, I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. It is the Wire to Wire, a new show each and every weekday, 3 to 7 p.m. right here on the Fan Upstate. We talked Shohei Ohtani and translator Ipe a few moments ago, and we're going to get back to gambling because it's now time to bring in our first guest of the day, Robert Linehan. He is a regulatory writer and editor for XL Media, joining the program, not for the first time, though, which is a good thing. Robert, we love having you on. But I want to start with this. News broke not long ago, Robert, about Ippei, Shohei's translator. The hammer has dropped on him. Over $16 million that was stolen out of Shohei Ohtani's bank account. Your instant reaction to that, Robert?
Well, thanks for having me on. I guess my instant reaction would be that it must be a hell of a life to not be able to instantaneously know that $16 million is missing from your bank account. That would be my first reaction to the whole thing here. But the whole thing, it's bad on Shohei's part that he didn't notice that this was going on, and he let it get this far. But of course, bad on the translator's part because look, I mean, he obviously had a problem. He was stealing millions upon millions of dollars from basically his employer and friend from everything that I've heard. So it's a sad situation all around. But what is also getting sort of confused in this whole thing is, a lot of people are saying this is a detriment to sports betting, to gambling, but it should be said and it should be stressed that this was all unregulated gambling. This was with a bookie. This was with, an unlicensed operator, so to speak. So, there are protections in place with regulated markets, with regulated sports betting where, something like this may have been flagged. It might have been a little more difficult for his interpreter to get a hold of his, a sports betting account in his name and spend all this money. So, that should be stressed that this was certainly not something that happened in the regulated world of sports betting.
Robert Linehan covers sports gambling for XL Media, joins us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Robert, you can't turn on a radio station or a TV station or go on any website without seeing ads for DraftKings. As a matter of fact, my 9-year-old nephew came up to me a few weekends ago and asked me, what is DraftKings? Because his YouTube his YouTube account is showing him DraftKings ads. To your knowledge, is there any attempt to regulate the tremendous amount of money that the gambling industry is spending on advertising? Because it's literally everywhere. And we've had people positing that the more and more of this we see, the more and more illegal sports gambling we're going to see, the more and more players are going to grow up hearing about this constantly, and it'll just become part of the social experience.
Sure. Well, of course, yeah, there have been some recent attempts to regulate sports betting advertisements. I mean, there was a very famous one about a year ago where a New York politician floated a federal bill that would ban all sports betting advertisements from TV and internet. Obviously, it didn't gain a whole lot of traction, but what you're seeing on a more local basis is, states, and the first that really comes to mind for me are Ohio and Massachusetts, where regulators are basically taking it into their own hands to sort of not really stem, the tide of sports betting ads, but to basically steer them away from vulnerable populations. There are laws on the books in both of those states where they can't be advertisements on college campuses. You can't have advertisements without disclaimers in venues where there is going to be potentially a large population of people that are under 21. I mean, you see in Boston at Fenway, they have disclaimers on a couple ads that are at, especially I think there's a couple ads on the Green Monster that now have 21 and over disclaimers. whether or not this actually does anything to, stem the tide of young people wanting to participate in sports betting, I don't think of that. I think that remains to be seen. But, there are states now that are really trying to put some restrictions on who is seeing these ads, what the ads are targeting, what populations the ads are targeting. So it's certainly on everyone's minds. And if you bring it back to Shohei and you bring it back to all of these other incidents that we're seeing, the Toronto Raptors player that's sort of embroiled in a scandal right now, some of the college basketball investigations you saw this year, you could see something potentially federally happening. I don't know if that's going to happen for sure. But it's definitely something that is on, certainly politician and lawmakers' minds. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw sort of another heavy push to regulate these ads more in the line of Canada and England that have some very severe restrictions on sports betting ads in their country.
Hey, Robert, I want to get to a tweet that you sent out earlier today. You can find him on Twitter at @RLinehanXL. This is fascinating. This tweet says, according to a report commissioned by the Campaign for Fairer Gambling, more than $4.3 billion was bet on March Madness illegally. Again, $4.3 billion illegally on March Madness. The tweet goes on to say data showed 378 illegal operators and 651 affiliates claimed 64% of the total market share, with just 2.4 billion bet legally. So this is fascinating, but I want to know, is there an attempt by anyone to regulate these illegal gambling sites? And if so, how are they finding how much money is being put on illegal gambling?
Well, that was a press release. It's not my study, so I can't really get into the nitty-gritty details of what the study, how they got those numbers, how I believe the company that produced that study was called Yield SEC. But basically, so your question was how are people betting, or what's being done to regulate these illegal operators? I mean, the simple answer there is, basically what's being done is what North Carolina did this past year to regulate and pass legalized sports betting in a state. I actually contacted the people that put out that study because I'm really interested to see if they have like a state-by-state breakdown of what those numbers are. Because I'd be very interested to see how much was bet in California, how much was bet in Texas, the two largest states and the two largest markets that currently have that don't offer regulated sports betting. But the answer to your question is simply when how it's regulated is politicians decide that hey, look, we're actually going to put some safeguards on sports betting in our state. We're actually going to put protections for consumers in our state by passing a legalized sports betting bill, and ensuring that the states are benefiting from these billions of dollars that are being bet illegally with offshore, unregulated books, and making sure that a percentage of the revenues coming in is going to people that may have a problem gaming addiction, that may need help. That's sort of what's being done to regulate the offshore and the unregulated markets where people are placing bets. I mean, look, let's be honest. These are books that are in other countries. The U.S., the federal government is not going to spend a lot of resources, not going to spend a lot of time trying to hunt these people down and shut them down. I mean, it's almost an impossibility. You'd spend, millions upon millions of dollars to shut one down, and then someone just opens up another one in a country where the regulations are, more sparse. So what the best way to do it is to have a safeguard in a state, pass a bill, make sure there are protections in there, and offer your customers, offer your residents legalized sports betting. So that's the best answer, and that's the best solution in my opinion.
So, Robert, I want to dig a little bit deeper on that. We're speaking to Robert Linehan, regulatory writer and editor for XL Media. We had a few weeks ago the news come out that Charlie Baker, president of the NCAA, wants to eliminate prop betting on college athletes, and he wants it to be regulated at the state level. Louisiana has already approved measures like that. It's being considered in other states as well. Is there data that suggests where money that's currently being placed on college prop bet player bets in states where it's legal to do so might go if that's eventually banned in those states? I mean, is it something that it's going to push legal players to want to bet player props illegally? Or in most situations, do players, if something that they used to be able to bet on legally becomes illegal, they just shift their money over to a different form of legal betting?
I'd say it's more the latter, because the money that's being spent on these individual college player props, it's not a lot. It's not a big market. It's not a big money market for operators right now. One of the states that banned, and one of the first states that banned individual college player props after Charlie Baker, sort of put that out there, was Ohio. And Ohio did a pretty extensive study on just how much money is bet in a year legally on those particular markets. I believe it was found that in 2023, less than 2% of all money bet was bet on individual college player props. Not a lot of money. So I don't think you're going to see a tidal wave of players leaving the regulated market to go spend millions upon millions of dollars with an offshore book just because they can't bet on an over under on Marvin Harrison Jr. or something. The money just isn't there to prove that. I think this is going to be the next wave of regulation that you're going to see states sort of flocking to. I wrote something last week. Louisiana is going to place a prohibition on college prop bet or individual college player prop bets in August. New Jersey, Kansas, Wyoming, they've all said that if the NCAA reaches out to them, which they said they will, they would have an open mind and consider a prohibition as well. One of the only states that didn't get back to me was North Carolina. I don't know what North Carolina wants to do with this. I mean, they just opened sports betting about a month ago today. I don't know if they're going to look to change their rules this quickly. I think they might let it play out and see exactly how much money is being bet on this market. This market that's troubling the NCAA. But I don't think the money aspect, I don't think the handle aspect really shows that too many players are going to be flocking to an illegal sports book to bet on individual college player props.
Hey, Robert, I'm fascinated with one of your stories about the new and first ESPN Bet retail sportsbook. I mean, what has this turned into? Like a retail store, right? You're going at the mall, and all of a sudden, bam, ESPN Bet retail sportsbook. Is this a mini casino? And what does ESPN, from your knowledge, plan on? How do they plan on replicating this across the country?
Well, a retail sportsbook is just simply a brick and mortar sportsbook. So it's at that particular sportsbook you're talking about is at the Hollywood Casino in Greektown in Detroit. Basically, the crux of that story was just that this will be the first ESPN Bet brick and mortar sports book that it will be open to the public. I think it's going to open on the day before the NFL draft. But in terms of what you're absolutely going to see. I think Penn Entertainment, the parent company, the company that partnered with ESPN to bring about ESPN Bet, they have about 32 sports books across the country, at mostly in Hollywood casinos. You're definitely going to see the transition. They obviously used to have a partnership with Barstool, and most of their sports books were Barstool sports books. So now you're absolutely going to see a transition for these freestanding brick and mortar retail sports books to ESPN Bet. I know that was one of their strategies to basically have people have more eyes on the ESPN Bet brand. But that was simply just, hey, look, this is the first one. It's opening the day before the NFL draft. Go check it out. The NFL draft is also in Detroit, so it was just a little noteworthy story there.
Robert, we saw the women's tournament this year see its highest ratings ever. We saw it set records for the most money ever bet on women's sports. Now that women's sports has really captured America's attention, what do you think will happen with betting on women's sports? Do you think now that it's reached these new heights, it'll stay there? Or do you think as, some of the big stars like Caitlin Clark are leaving to go into the WNBA, Angel Reese as well, do you think that that tide will stem just a little bit?
I don't know. That's a really good question, because there are two schools of thought for that. Pretty much every single operator that I was in contact with said that this women's tournament and Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, they generated more money and more buzz and more interest in women's college basketball than any other athlete ever before. I mean, that game, the women's college championship, and then the Iowa State versus LSU. I mean, that was by far, for many operators, their most bet game of the day, by far, and one of the most bet events in March, since March Madness began this year. I mean, men and women's combined. So, there's a school of thought there that is it because of the players? I mean, you had some very intriguing storylines, obviously, with Caitlin Clark, who had a lot of interest this year. And like you said, Angel Reese, you had the big rematch of Iowa State and LSU, and then the Iowa State and I'm blanking on North Carolina State, or was it South Carolina State that won the championship? I'm blanking.
South
It's been
Carolina.
a long day. Excuse me?
It was South Carolina, Iowa. Yeah.
South Carolina. Yeah, you had sort of the Dawn Staley, South Carolina State revenge tour that they were just hoping to play Iowa State again. So there were a lot of interesting storylines for that. But like you said, I mean, you have two of these extraordinarily popular women's players going to the WNBA, and it's going to be interesting to see if the money follows them. I mean, I would imagine when Caitlin Clark makes her debut, you're going to be seeing a lot of prop bets on Caitlin Clark over under threes made, and probably the majority being on the over. I mean, those two athletes, they pretty much piqued interest in women's college basketball more so than anyone has, in the last 2 decades. I mean, it was unbelievable, just the amount of ratings they were doing, the amount of money that was being spent on those games. So I think you'll definitely see an uptick in betting in the WNBA. It remains to be seen next year if sort of the interest will stay with women's college basketball. I don't know if you're going to have those types of, marquee players and stories being around next year. I mean, you may have to wait another year or two to sort of get, some as intriguing of characters as Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese. So I think you'll definitely see an uptick in WNBA betting interest. I think interest in college women basketball on the betting side may sort of level out next year without them, but I hope I'm wrong. I mean, it was very refreshing to see so much of an interest in the sport and to see so much buzz for the tournament this year.
Hey, Robert, fantastic stuff. We always love having you on. I'm fascinated by what you do for a living and love hearing your opinions and thoughts. And thanks so much for hopping on with us. We'll talk to you again real soon.
No problem. Anytime you want me to come on.
Appreciate that so very much. That's Robert Linehan, regulatory writer and editor for XL Media. Diesel, that's a dream job for me. I love sports gambling. All right, that is that must be a fun job, man.
I am fascinated with where the betting is going to go for women's sports. Again, now that the profile has been raised as much as it has, and hey, as the wave of interest increased, the wave of gambling and betting increased with it. The question just becomes, how high will that wave stay?
Sure.
Now that some of the biggest stars are gone, and hey, gamblers will gamble on anything. That's the whole thing.
No.
You don't have to be that, plugged in and interested in it to want to, play some action on it. So it's going to be fascinating to see how, if that can be an element that helps maintain the level of interest in women's college basketball, even as some of the biggest stars are moving on. When we come back, we'll get you updated on the Masters and take another look at the leaderboard. And we'll get into some of the biggest storylines for this year's Masters that we haven't talked about yet. I'm Diesel. He is Cole Bryson. This is Wire to Wire, the newest show here on the Fan Upstate, and we will be right back. We're sitting here marveling down the tee boxes watching the first round of the Masters. The weather has really opened up in Augusta, Georgia. Just beautiful conditions now for the first round of the Masters. It took a little time. They had to slow things down just a little bit to get the tournament started today, but now everybody has teed off. The entire field is out there and is putting up numbers. As of right now, Bryson DeChambeau leads the Masters at -7. He has finished his full round at -7. Willett is tied for second. Tied for second is Willett and On, both at -4. Fox, Zalatoris, and Fitzpatrick are at -3. It's going to be fascinating to see, Cole. Can a live golfer win this thing this year?
Hadn't happened before, right?
Hadn't happened, but Bryson DeChambeau, I mean, look, a lot of these guys are great through 1 round, 2 rounds. Can you be great through 4 rounds on the toughest golf course, at least pressure-wise, probably in the country?
Sure.
It's going to be fascinating to watch, and so many great storylines to find out as this thing continues to develop. Rory McIlroy is even par. That puts him tied for 33rd. Tiger Woods, we told you earlier, Tiger Woods had just teed off probably, I think, about 40 minutes ago. So Tiger, should be a couple of holes deep right now. We're going to look and see if we can find where he is on the leaderboard. But that's one of the stories that everybody always wants to know. Where's Tiger?
Yeah.
How's Tiger doing at 48 years old? Can he make the cut? We're going to fight about that coming up in the 5 o'clock fight. Tiger, though, right now tied in a 3-way tie for the most number of consecutive cuts ever made,
which is incredible.
Can he break that tie? That's going to be really fascinating to see.
So I want to know from the Tolos, from the listeners out there, Tolo, turn it on, leave it on. We want you to turn it on at 3 and leave it on all the way till 7 each and every day. I want to know from the Tolos, who are you following? Who are you watching? If you have the ESPN Plus app or the Masters app, who are you following, and who do you want to see? Who are you most interested in seeing all the way throughout the tournament? 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Again, that's FAN. I am in a Masters pool, Diesel, of 605 people. I am following Bryson DeChambeau. I'm going to screw this up. Byung Hun An. Is that good enough?
Probably.
Too late now, right?
That's close.
Will Zalatoris, Victor Hovland, Lucas Glover, Brooks Koepka, and Minwoo Lee. However, Glover, Koepka, and Woo Lee are not doing too hot. So right now, I am
Lucas Glover, the Clemson product.
Clemson, that's right, and the Greenville native.
Playing in his 10th.
Right now, out of 605 people, I am 3rd, which is ironic because I don't know nothing about, I'm not a golf guy. And I told a buddy of mine, that's how it usually,
Isn't it amazing that people who usually make deep runs in the NCAA tournament actually don't
they
follow?
Pick the colors.
Yeah, they like colors. They pick based on mascots.
Right.
I used my brain and ultimately fell way short. But one of the great storylines about the Masters, Cole, is just how much tradition there is involved in the course. And we see it every single year. We marvel at it from the sense that the Masters menu pricing feels like it's straight out of the 1960s. And somehow, some way, these people who run stadiums across the country haven't learned from that. They refuse to learn from that. So,
and they're not going to.
They're not going to. So the Masters released their menu pricing again for this year, and you've got to love an event that knows that its customer base has money. They know that they are willing to spend said money, yet you get them on the course and you treat them well. And I'll bet you they spend more money because of it. They don't feel like they're being screwed over. So let's go through some of these menu prices here, man. Some of the if I ever got to go to an event at the Masters, I don't even like egg salad, but I'd be getting $1.50 egg salad sandwich.
See, I'd go pimento cheese.
Pimento cheese, $1.50 pimento cheese sandwich.
That's the best.
For to eat cheap, an egg salad sandwich or a pimento cheese sandwich for $1.50. That's pretty nice.
Oh gosh, you're making me hungry,
if
dude.
you want to be a big spender and you want to spend $3, you can get a pork barbecue sandwich, a Masters Club sandwich, a chicken salad on honey wheat, a ham and cheese on rye, or a classic chicken sandwich for just $3.
big money, though. I mean, you've got to take a loan out to go get that.
That's true. That's true.
You can't go in there with cash, man. You got to get a loan for that $3 menu item.
Yep. And hey, if you're there early, guess what? They've got a breakfast menu for you as well. $2 coffee. $2 for a fresh brewed cup.
That's not
coffee.
Starbucks.
That's way
not
cheaper than Starbucks. That's like, I think a grande coffee, a medium sized coffee at Starbucks is like $4. So Augusta National, who could really charge you a lot of money for this, helping you out with a $2 coffee. You can get a $2 chicken biscuit. You can get a $3 breakfast sandwich. I don't know exactly what's on a breakfast sandwich. Hopefully it's crispy bacon, not this floppy bacon garbage. That
Come on. You stole the words on them.
Yep. You can get a $1.50 blueberry muffin or a cup of mixed fruit for $2. That sounds pretty good. I'll take one of each, please. I'll take one of every single one of those things.
That's incredible.
And still only spend $7, $8, $9, $10.50. $10. I can get everything on the breakfast menu for $10.50. I can't go and get one of those things at like Chick-fil-A as a meal for $10.50. If you're thirsty, Cole, they have $2 soft drinks, bottled waters, and iced teas. Beers are only $5. Whether it's domestic or import, you're going to spend the exact same money, $5 for a beer. I haven't bought a $5 beer at a venue in probably 15 years. Everybody's beers are expensive. Whatever a crow's nest is, and I've heard tell that Rob Brown is going to try to mix up some of these over the weekend.
I've heard so. That's the rumor on the street.
Yeah, those are just $5, so a $5 cocktail, or you can get a $6 white wine. If you want to go a little snackier, how about $1.50 for chips, peanuts, cookies, and a Georgia pecan caramel popcorn? An order of Georgia pecan caramel popcorn. That sounds delicious and delightful. $2 for Southern cheese straws. And then I think this is the star of the show, Cole. This is what I would blow my entire allowance on this. $2.50 for a Georgia peach ice cream sandwich. So for $20, you could get a morning coffee, a breakfast sandwich, a beer and a pimento cheese sandwich at lunch, and then another beer and a Georgia peach ice cream sandwich. You'd be walking off the property full, buzzed, and still have $1 left in your pocket.
You cannot beat that. You cannot beat that.
A beer at Bank of America Stadium is $10.
They should pay you to come to Bank of America Stadium, right? All right, coming up next, it's the segment that Diesel says so perfectly is sweeping the upstate. The 5 o'clock fight coming your way. What are we going to fight about today? Find out. Stick around. Tolo. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. It's time to debate. It's time to argue. And it's time to pick a side. Each and every day at 5 o'clock, Diesel and I will fight about 3 different topics. Sports related, food related, anything. We will talk about it as long as it's FCC compliance. We will talk about it and fight about it right here on this program. We really appreciate all of the texts that have come in. It's a lot of texts we have to get to, and we will get to those texts after we fight. So let us know what you think by texting in each and every day, 71307. Again, 71307. Diesel, you ready? You got your gloves on over there?
Put them on, strapping them up.
Oh, I shouldn't have said glove.
Mouthpiece. Ding, ding.
I shouldn't have said glove on the day.
Oh, OJ. Because OJ. We had a texter earlier who got upset at, I don't remember which one of us said it, but he said regarding OJ, quote, "We may never know." Seriously? Well, I just asked texter, do you have some evidence that the jury didn't see? Because unless you have video of it happening, you don't know, just like any of the rest of us.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I don't know what evidence you may have, but best of luck to you. All right, let's get into the 3 topics for today. Each and every day at 5 o'clock, Diesel and I will fight. You pick the side. You tell us who's right and who's wrong. Who are you siding with? 71307. Also, phone lines, 844-FAN-PHONE is the way you can get in touch with the program. We're not arguing about floppy bacon today, so everybody can be at rest, be at ease about that. But it is time for. All right, Diesel, the Masters began today. Here's the conversation. Will Tiger make the cut? What do you say?
Yes, Tiger will make the cut. He's made 23 consecutive cuts at the Masters, tied for first all-time with the longest streak. But between him, Fred Couples, and Gary Player, he could find himself in a new category and just still be breaking records at age 48. So in 2023, Cole, he shot a round 174. And he shot a round 273 for a total of 3 over. Now, historically, the cut stays around 6 over par. And Tiger, so far, through 3 holes, is -1 with a birdie on number 1. He parred 2 and 3. I think Tiger has it in him. I think Tiger will will his way into another cut.
I want so badly to agree with you. I really, really do. However, Tiger's body says no. I say no. Tiger will, unfortunately, not good for the game of golf, not good for you, not good for not good for the average golf fan out there, especially not good for PGA and the Masters. But unfortunately, I don't think Tiger will make the cut. I think that as he starts getting into the later part of the day today, and even into the, later part of tomorrow's round, Diesel, I think that old body, that old back right there starts to get to him. I hope I'm wrong. I really do.
Do you think he misses the cut based on score, or do you think he withdraws before he gets there?
That's a good question.
Because I'll even give you both of those options.
No, I don't think he withdraws this year.
No?
I don't think he does. I think he powers. That's a great question. Yeah. That's a great question. I just think I think he wills through it. He abstained from a lot of things this past week.
I do have blonde waitresses notwithstanding here, but I do wonder, even at 48, if he hadn't sustained those injuries,
sure,
would Tiger still be out there winning multiple majors a year?
I think so.
I think he would.
Yeah, I absolutely think the wreck had
really took him down a peg.
It did, man. I think it had a big impact on him physically. I hate to say that, but I think it did. All right, let us know where you side after round 1. Will Tiger make the cut? Diesel says yes. I say he will not make the cut. It is now time for. All right, we have some sad news today for most people. O.J. Simpson passed away today. Round 2 of the 5 o'clock fight is here. The question is, Diesel, should OJ have served 9 years for robbery? I will say, even if he did not do anything he was accused of. Again, you said it perfectly, or perfectly. The murders, but you're talking about robbery. I'm just talking about in general. He was an accomplice in too many things. So I'll say he should have served 9 years for the robbery. You say?
So I say no. To me, it felt like the armed robbery case, just like the civil case in the murders, was a little bit of retribution. It felt like there was we finally got him. We finally got another crack at OJ. Like he finally messed up. We can finally take him down.
Could have been.
And to me, it just felt like there was a lot of retribution for not being convicted for the Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman murders. Was it bad what he did? Yeah, of course it was. However, he was attempting to get back property of his own, and somebody he was with, which again makes him an accomplice, not the actual kidnapper.
Sure.
An accomplice he was with pulled a weapon on those in the room and wouldn't let them leave. So that's what made it kidnapping. This was a scummy memorabilia dealer. You go back and you watch that OJ Made in America doc. Like the guy was interviewed. He was such a scumbag. You knew he was a scumbag. You knew he stole stuff from OJ. He knew he stole stuff from OJ. But they were able to pin an accessory to kidnapping and armed robbery on him, and they gave him 9 years for it. I mean, he didn't serve the entire sentence. I don't think OJ should have gotten that length of time for that crime.
All right. The final round. What could the question be? I am fired up about this one, Diesel. Yesterday, we were live on location at Ingles with the fine folks at Ingles. Melissa, Ruby, Jay Wilson was there. Diesel, you and I were there. And during a commercial break, a discussion spawned between Melissa and I about watermelon. And the next commercial break, I took the initiative to go and get said watermelon. But what did I also get with it? I also got salt. Melissa and I yesterday were trying to allow you and Jay, for the first time ever, to try salt on a watermelon. And in my opinion, salt absolutely goes on watermelon, Diesel.
No, why would you do this? You have something that's naturally incredible. Watermelon, a good ripe watermelon is delicious. It's, a signifier that it is summertime. It's incredible. And then you go and just salt it for no reason. It doesn't need salt. It's got Mother Nature's natural goodness in it. There's no need to salt it. I tried it for the very first time, and I didn't like it. I'll never, ever do it again.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad was it?
1 being good, 10 being awful. I'd say it was a solid 6.
Oh,
6 or 7.
Not a fan.
Yeah,
You're not a fan.
Not a fan.
I love salt on watermelon. It is the best thing. That you're right. The watermelon, the flavor is incredible. But, man, salt on watermelon is phenomenal. All right, a ton of text to get to as well as messages on the stream. Let us know who won. Who are you siding with? Each and every day we do the 5 o'clock fight. 3 topics we fight about. How can you suggest a topic? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, it's not looking good for me on the salt category.
It happens to you a lot. Seems to me that you have a lot of bad opinions.
I love floppy bacon, and I love salt on watermelon. So James says absolutely not. Spur Daddy says no salt at all. On the text line, one texter says, Cole round 1, except I will say he will make the cut and then withdraw. He's done that before, stealing an opportunity from someone else.
Yeah, JD did put into the stream that says Tiger has withdrawn from 5 of his last 7 appearances before the end of the second round. So it's possible he could get midway through the day tomorrow and just say, you know what, I'm out. But when he's got a chance to separate from Gary Player and Fred Couples for the most ever Masters cuts made consecutively, I think he's going to will through it no matter how much it hurts.
One Tolo Diesel says, for the first time ever, he's giving you and I a tie in round 2 on the OJ. Another texter says, round 1 Diesel, round 2 and 3 Cole. Joey, Tolo, Joey, you're the man. Thank you for actually signing with me. You're the only one so far on the salt on round 3. One Tolo says, for the second time in a row, you both tie because this is like steak sauce for me. A good steak doesn't need it, but sometimes I do crave it. Also a texter. The salt is great on watermelon and also great on apple slices.
What do you people do? I think it just means you really love salt. And you'll put salt on anything, right?
Salt's good, man. Salt's good.
You're going to put salt on your breakfast cereal next and tell me it's good?
No, I've never done that. I've never done that.
Awful. It sounds awful.
Madcraft says Diesel 1, Cole 2, Diesel 3. So Madcraft's going with you, Diesel. JD says Broom for Cole. I'm going 1-0 and 2 ties. I can't disagree with either on the OJ, and I have a good point about salt and watermelon.
I think I know what I'm going to do this weekend. I'm going to go back and watch that doc again. I love that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
One texter asked, and I'm glad you did ask because every now and then for new listeners, we do get this question. One texter says, what is a Tolo? Well, Diesel, that's a great question. Our motto on this station is what?
Turn it on, leave it on.
And what's shortened for turn on, leave on? Well, that's Tolo. Turn on, leave on. That's what we want you to do each and every day right here on the Fan Upstate. So you are Tolos.
Shouldn't we call them T.O. Leos?
T.O.
Turn it on, leave it on, T.O. Leos.
That sounds more
Leos.
That sounds a little bit more frou-frou, Diesel.
Quick update here on the Masters leaderboard. Let's get a refresh on this. Rory is sitting at -1, so he is there tied with Tiger. Now he's obviously a little farther. I think he's somewhere on the back 9. Bryson DeChambeau has finished his round -7. He's got the lead. Danny Willett, Will Zalatoris, Scotty Scheffler tied for second at -4. Ryan Fox and Matt Fitzpatrick -3. They're tied for 5th place. Corey Connors, Byung On, Joaquin Neiman, and Rory McIlroy. He's moved up to tied for 7th at -2. There's a handful of players. Victor Hovland in there as well at -2. Cameron Davis -2. God, some of these are hard to read on this monitor here. Sorry guys, because it's a very, very small text. We'll keep getting you updated on what's going on with these players as some of them are beginning to finish up. Tiger Woods has now fallen back to even. He must have bogeyed number 4. Tiger Woods is at even, tied for 28th. So remember, you can always tell us what you want us to fight about. Just send me an email, diesel@thefanupstate.com. Make the subject line of your email fight, and Cole and I will fight about it, no matter what it is.
You know what, though? The 5 o'clock fight, I will say, we so much appreciate the feedback we're getting on the text stream, on the text and the stream. Yes, we do love it because each and every day we allow the listener to pick a side. A lot of interaction coming in each and every day. One texter says, I used to listen to another station when I moved back to the upstate in 2020, but ever since my dial touched 97.7, it's been on 97.7. Nice. We appreciate that. Turn it on and left it on ever since, says another Tolo, from the time I wake up at 5 a.m. until I go to sleep at 7 p.m. I love it. I've never been to sleep at 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
But I guess if you
what are you, my grandma?
Guess if you have to get up early, right?
My grandma used to put salt on her grapefruit, and I never understood that because grapefruit are gross.
I don't like grapefruit.
Grapefruit's not good. It's like, let's take an orange, let's make it super sour. And then she would always say, oh, no, but if you put salt on it, it makes it sweet. It's like the opposite. No, I've tried it. She was lying to me. She was trying to get me to do something that she knew I wasn't going to like.
JD says Kool-Aid packet on apple slices. What?
Honestly, I'm sure that's good. Just like concentrated Kool-Aid flavor.
I've never thought of that.
On apples. The apple is just a delivery system.
That doesn't sound real healthy, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Does anybody have anything like weird food things that you put you put a sauce on something, or you put two things together that you wouldn't expect would go well together that really do?
Everybody makes fun of me when I eat Lay's potato chips, the regular, just standard out of the bag, yellow bag. You know, the yellow standard Lay's.
One of my favorites.
So people hate on me for this, but it's the best. The Lay's dipped in ketchup. Diesel.
You have the palate of a 12-year-old.
I do. I really do. Really do. It's so good though, man. It's almost like French fries, but Lay's potato chips is incredible.
I don't believe this texter. We got a texter that says salt on watermelon, gravy on cantaloupe.
Oh God.
Gravy? on cantaloupe.
That's terrible.
That
You
is
should be
terrible.
banned from
How about-
texting the show
First of all,
ever
what,
again.
what kind of gravy are you talking here? You talking like white sausage gravy? Are you talking like
matter,
the dark
does it?
brown beef gravy? What kind of gravy? Or when the Italians say gravy, they really mean marinara sauce. That sounds awful, Texter. There's no way.
Is that true?
Texter
Gravy?
says mayo on meatloaf. I bet that's good.
Is that mayo on meatloaf?
on meatloaf.
I don't hate that. I don't
Could you
hate that.
imagine like a meatloaf sandwich with mayo on it? That
I
sounds
don't
great.
hate that at all. Yeah.
And they say white sausage gravy.
On cantaloupe.
Mm.
Man, I've lived in the South my whole life and I've never heard of that one. That is all right. So, real quick, Diesel, I forgot to ask you on the Masters food you were doing. Now that we're on the topic of food, pimento cheese sandwich or egg salad, head to head.
Oh man, I'm going pimento cheese sandwich because I can't tell you the last time it was that I actually had egg salad sandwich. So I've got to. I think I got to recuse myself from. I don't like tuna salad very much.
Nah.
I love chicken salad. As a matter of fact, we've got a great chicken salad restaurant right here beside
Fantastic.
the radio station.
Fantastic.
Can't shout them out because they're not an advertiser. Unless you guys want to start advertising, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'll shout you out as much as we possibly can because I'm in that spot probably 2 to 3 times a month.
I told you and Rob on a text this morning, pimento cheese is one of my favorite things. I love pimento cheese. However,
you make your own, don't you?
I'm weird because I don't like store-bought. So, like, if you go to the store and buy it already made, I'm not a fan.
I don't like store-bought anything. Like
Oh,
store-bought
true.
potato salad is not it.
Yeah, it's not the
Store-bought
best.
chicken salad is not it.
Unless it's from Ingles.
Yeah.
But I love homemade pimento cheese, man. It's fantastic. All right, before I get hungry, Diesel. Ugh.
Yeah. So, man, this we thought O.J. Simpson was going to be the story with the most intrigue on the show today. I got something to throw at you that involves a 2-time World Series champion baseball player who's dealing with a massive fraud issue. We're getting deep into this guy's personal family life, but it's out there on the internet, so we're going to talk about it. That's coming up for you next, right here on Wire to Wire. I'm Diesel. He's Cole Bryson. We just watched Tiger Woods leave about a 20-foot putt 5 feet short. Don't know for sure if that putt was for birdie or if it was for par. Haven't gotten the update on that.
Looks like the wind's blowing a good bit.
Yeah, the wind is blowing a good bit down there in Augusta. And as a matter of fact, we're looking out of the studios, the Ingalls Market Studios here at 25 Garlington Road. We look out basically towards the southwest, and the skies are clear.
It was nasty for a minute.
It was.
During that interview?
Yeah,
Ooh.
It was. Rough weather out there. We're going to keep getting you updates on the Masters as things happen. But Cole, this is one of those stories you don't want to hear about a player that found a lot of success in Major League Baseball. 3-time MLB All-Star and 2-time World Series winner Ben Zobrist, who played for the Rays, the A's, the Royals, and the Cubs, has filed a $6 million lawsuit against his former pastor, Byron Yawn, for allegedly defrauding his charity foundation. He alleges that Yawn was having an affair with his wife and that it started after Ben Zobrist sought counseling from the pastor for anxiety and depression. $6 million lawsuit says he went to him for help, and then he stole money from him and he slept with his wife. In a lawsuit filed in Nashville Circuit Court, the lawsuit details how the pastor served as the couple's premarital counselor and even officiated the public dedication for 3 of the Zobrist children. Ben alleges the troubles with his pastor Yawn started in 2018 when he, quote, began secretly pursuing an intimate relationship with his wife, Juliana. Months later, the pastor was allegedly meeting her for sex on a regular schedule. Zobrist also alleges that Yawn was still serving as the family's counselor while maintaining multiple burner phones to be able to contact his wife, Juliana. That's in the lawsuit. The lawsuit lays out how, according to Ben Zobrist's attorneys, Yawn was working for the for Zobrist player charity while sleeping with his wife. Yawn was collecting a $36,000 annual salary for his services for the family, and Zobrist was throwing in an additional $10,000 a month for the pastor's church. Zobrist's attorneys write in the lawsuit that Yawn, quote, usurped the ministerial counselor role, violated and betrayed the confidence entrusted to him by the plaintiff, breached his fiduciary duty owed to the plaintiff, and deceitfully used his access as counselor to engage in an inappropriate sexual relationship with the plaintiff's wife. This, Cole, is what they call messy. This is messy. He goes to his pastor, somebody who should have his best interests at heart. He's paying him money to be a counselor and confidant. And then he's stealing money from his charity and sleeping with his wife.
Messy situation.
Yeah. So the question is, how did Ben Zobrist finally figure out that his wife was cheating on him? Well, the story goes that the pastor, Yawn's wife, contacted Ben to tell him that she thought something was up. Zobrist was taking a 4-month leave of absence from the Cubs, which cost the infielder $8 million in income. He's going to be suing this guy for a ton of money. He's going to be suing him for emotional distress. He's going to be suing him for defrauding his charity. He's going to be suing him for wages lost while he had to take time away from the team. This is just a rough thing, man. This is rough. And his wife is she's still active on Instagram. Her bio reads that she's an inspirational speaker and an author. In 2018, Ben wrote on his Instagram that, quote, I'm in love with this woman. When we first started dating, I knew she was going to do something special in this world for a lot of people. She has a voice that everyone knew was incredible, but this book, she had written a book, proves that the heart behind it is even more beautiful. Today is the release date for her new book. Go pull it off. Man, that's brutal to have somebody like that who you supported just rip your heart out and conduct a relationship behind your back with somebody who's supposed to have your best interest at heart.
Yeah, that's why you got to be careful of what you get involved with, right? I mean, unfortunately, it wasn't his fault, right? He was just going to therapy. But this is wild. This is a weird story.
Yeah, it really is, and I can't fathom playing on a level like that with that kind of money with it. It's certainly not to justify her actions, but it certainly has to be tough being in a relationship, married to, and having children with somebody who is gone, away from the family as much as he is. But man, that's not an excuse in any way, shape, or form for doing what she did. So just a rough story coming out for a guy that dedicated his life to a pursuit of being great and was great. Again, 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion. To have to go through this, man, that's tough. I feel really bad for the guy. Okay, let's take a look over at the Masters, see what's happening there, get you a quick update on the scores. Some guys are now finishing up. Bryson DeChambeau has finished. Again, he is leading the pack at -7, 3 shots ahead of Danny Willett, Will Zalatoris, and Scotty Scheffler, who sit at -4. People want to know where some of the big names are out there, so let's see if we can pick up some of these. Let's see. Lucas Glover is tied for 16th. He is now at -1. So product of Clemson, he is at -1. Tony Finau finished his round at -1 around 171. Let's see some of these other names who you guys are definitely going to care about. John Rahm, he is even, tied for 30th place. Let's see. Tiger Woods is at even through 5, so that must have been a birdie putt that he left short there. He has parred at number 5. Tiger Woods sits at even. Remember, the cut that he needs to make, the line that he needs to make in years past has been around +6 if he wants to make the 3rd round. So, hey, we're only 5 holes in. He's still got a long way to go in this opening round. The weather down there is absolutely gorgeous. As we've just opened up to beautiful weather here at the radio station here.
Changed quick, didn't it?
Darlington Road. It's real quick. Not 20 minutes ago, those trees were bent over sideways with wind blowing and just a lot of rain coming through. And the weather is now turning gorgeous.
One texter earlier said, we asked the question about who you're following this Masters weekend, right? One texter said he's following Woods, McIlroy, Scheffler, Rahm, and DeChambeau. Let us know who you're following. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Phone lines are also open as well. 844-326-3663. But before we hit a break, Diesel, I want to read this tweet from Jeff Passan. And Jeff Passan tweeted this as soon as we went on air today at 3:00. So Jeff Passan, if you don't know, he works for ESPN and he covers Major League Baseball, right? This is fascinating. Jeff Passan tweets a seeming confession from Ippei Mizuhara via text to a bookmaker on the day that the ESPN story by Tisha Thompson ran about this whole situation. So here's the text message conversation from the bookmaker and Ippei. This is wild. So on or about March 20th, 2024, Diesel, Ippei messaged Bookmaker One stating, have you seen the reports? This was about the time you and I started Wire to Wire, or right before maybe. Bookmaker One responded, yes, but that's all BS. He didn't say the word BS. Obviously, you didn't steal from him. I understand it's a cover job, and I totally get it. Ippei then responded to Bookmaker One, technically, I did steal from him. It's all over for me. How do they get these texts? Where'd the text come from?
Who's screenshotting all this and sending it to the biggest baseball reporter in the country?
What in the world? So you know what the bottom line is here? Ippei, I think you said this a couple of weeks ago. Ippei is the worst criminal in the history of criminals. I mean, come on, man. This does not read good for your sake.
It's like he's calling the police and say, hey guys, I'm over here. Come look at me.
I mean, have you seen the videos, Diesel? I don't know if you've seen them. They're on social media, different platforms where there will be people at let's call a football game, right? Well, there's videos all over the place of old men at sporting events with their enlarged text. You know how you can enlarge your text on an iPhone?
Yeah.
Well, they'll be sending like a really terrible or sexual, something really bad text to someone, right? Well, their text is so large, there's somebody in the row behind them videoing and zooming in on it, right? And this goes viral because this old man's sitting there talking all kind of craziness, and he's getting recorded. It's almost like Ipe was caught with somebody over his shoulder. I don't know how this gets out. Obviously, he talked to ESPN in that Tisha Thompson story, but man, this is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, that's why all of this, again, it stinks too much for it to be as neat and as tidy as
Yes.
Major League Baseball wants it to be.
All right, coming up next, we are going to play some terrific audio. I heard yesterday probably the funniest audio I've heard in a long time from Coach Calipari. And then I also have another piece of audio that relates to the NCAA tournament. This piece of audio that I have relating to the tournament is from a local basketball coach. This local basketball coach at Mallard Creek High School, he's one of the boys' assistant coaches. Well, he is super, super talented. I have this audio. This is audio gold for you on the other side right here on Wire to Wire. He's Diesel, I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. found a coach as of yet. However, Coach Cal, he's loving life, man. He has his Tyson chicken money. He has his Tyson chicken dinosaurs piled all the way to the ceiling. He's happy, right? However, Diesel, probably some of the funniest audio I've heard in a long, long time. Cal can sometimes be a funny guy. So he's giving the press conference at Arkansas, and they're asking questions. And Coach Cal talks about him meeting with his team. Here's the audio.
You know what? I'm jacked about another opportunity. I'm like, let's go. Now, I met with the team. There is no team.
There is no team. You know why?
Team?
Diesel, right now, if you go to the website, there is one player on the roster.
Oh.
He has one player.
Oh.
Coach Cal's in a little
Arkansas's roster.
Yes. So he's in a little bit of a bind.
Man, whoever's getting paid to update those websites right now needs a raise because this is happening fast.
A little bit of pettiness, huh?
Yeah.
The Razorbacks have 8 players from this year's team that have already entered the portal. 8 players.
Why would you leave if you know Coach Cal's coming in?
I have no idea. That's a great question. That's a great question. I want to get back to Coach Cal in a second, Arkansas and the whole Kentucky thing, because we do have some more thoughts on that. You and I do. But I also have this wrap while we're on the topic of college basketball. This was, I saw this on Twitter, and I reached out to this guy, Coach Cherry, who gave us permission to use his audio. He is very, very talented, and Diesel created a rap to recap. You know how you had the one shining moment every year? Well, this is the rap version. I prefer this version. This is Coach Cherry, a local coach up in North Carolina, who created a rap. His take, his spin on one shining moment.
It's one shining moment for everybody involved. Who gave us memories that we'll always recall? The ACC said we alive and kicking, and that was confirmed by NC State and Clemson. Rick Barnes got Tennessee, the Elite 8. Juju got USC, the Elite 8. Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark, household names, the impact was felt. It'll never be the same. Shooting 30 feet brought excitement to the game. Coach Cal left Kentucky for a new thing. Angel Reese said, farewell, I'm going pro. If Shed doesn't get hurt, we'll never know. Jack Goki shot Kentucky right up out the brackets. Don Staley's beating everybody like it's practice. Raven Johnson said, I'm back, better than ever. Dan Hurley's like, back to back, no pressure. Zach Edey, Donovan Clingan, hard to compare. What's going to be the storylines for next year?
Give me that all day.
Wow.
Over the NCAA one shining moment.
What's better, that or the live poem that we had read on the air earlier regarding the Masters?
I'm going to try to pull that back up because that was absolutely fascinating. I have the audio. I have to just sort through it here and find it. But
so we spent some time just a minute ago talking about the situation that Arkansas is going to have to navigate now that Cal is there. Here's some interesting audio though from Adam Finkelstein, who is the head of the director of scouting for 24/7 Sports. He says maybe Arkansas is not going to have too hard of a time replacing everything that they're losing.
But I would expect pretty much all of these guys to reopen their recruitment. Travis Perry, who is a Kentucky native, is maybe the one who would be most likely to stay and see what the next coach has to say. But we don't have anything official yet. But the vast majority of these guys, this is what fans need to understand. These players don't commit to universities. I don't care what the athletic department says. They don't commit to universities as much as they do commit to coaches. These guys committed to John Calipari. They committed to his track record of making pros. And if we're to believe that now he has more resources at his disposal from an NIL standpoint, there's not going to be much preventing them from following him to Arkansas. So it's going to be really interesting to watch.
So Adam says Arkansas is probably going to be okay because they're going to have Kentucky's entire roster.
Like, that could happen. It could happen. You know what else could happen? Those guys, those 8 that left Arkansas, they could come back.
They could. Do they have a place now, though? That's what's going to be fun to find out. And I mean, look, I really do want to know if Cal, what is Cal's motivation going to be going forward? Is his MO going to stay the same? Is he going to try to just get the one and dones and put them in the league? Or is Coach Cal going to try to keep these guys around, even if they just stick around for 3 years? Give me 2 years, give me 3 years, and we'll go out there and win NCAA titles. Especially, it depends on how much of his incentive is based on winning championships.
I think Coach Cal's fascinating, Diesel, but man, I honestly don't know where to land on this one. Like,
I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I do too.
Kentucky fans are not sad that he's leaving. Kentucky fans are probably going to be upset that he's taking the recruits with them. So that's going to set them back. But it's a win for Arkansas as well, because they get that higher profile guy who can bring in a new class of players.
What's interesting, though, is I heard a take yesterday, and I want to see if you agree with this, because I don't know if I agree. I heard a take yesterday talking about Cal at Arkansas, about the star power of John Calipari. Does he have the star power? This take that I heard yesterday was talking about how with him at Arkansas in the Tyson money, Diesel, that Arkansas would become the next Kentucky. I don't know if I buy that. As good as the SEC is, as loaded as they are, do I think Cal's going to be good for Arkansas? Absolutely. How good that is, I'm not sure. I don't know if he can even replicate, Diesel, at Arkansas what he replicated at Kentucky.
Well, he implemented a lot of the Midnight Madness stuff. Cal was fantastic for Kentucky. Literally the only thing he didn't win were tournament games.
Yeah.
He didn't win championships. He did everything else right. So in that sense, he's going to elevate Arkansas to something they've never been before. He's going to be able to command recruits in a way that Arkansas as a program has never been able to command. And that's going to be fun to watch.
I wonder, though, is Kentucky on the flip side? Is Kentucky without Cal there?
Yes. Kentucky will, granted, we have thought that Kentucky would be that program who could go out and get anyone they wanted. And they've been told no by a lot of big names. Jay Wright told them no. Dan Hurley told them no. Well, who was the other big coach just in the last 24 hours that's told Kentucky no?
I think everybody has.
That's somebody's going to want to take that job. There's a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of money behind it. You could put me under that kind of pressure for $8.5 million a year.
You think?
Yeah.
Listen, I think that Kentucky, to answer my own question, I think Kentucky is still Kentucky without Cal. But what I didn't ever think we'd see this, but what I do want to see now is if that holds true. Can Kentucky still go compete for titles? I say compete for titles because he hadn't competed for a title lately, but can they still go and have the dominance and regular season as Cal did?
You look back though at some of the other blue bloods, and some of them will be down for a couple of years, but
sure,
they always come back, right? They will always be able to spend the most money. They will always be able to get the names that they want. There's already people who are questioning whether or not Hubert Davis is the right guy.
Oh, come on.
At North Carolina. But, these are the programs that can get who they want.
Tom wants to chime in on the Kentucky basketball situation. 844-326-3663. Phone lines are open. Get your thoughts in, as well as 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Tom, go ahead. What's on your mind, man?
Yeah, guys, y'all are talking about the Kentucky situation. And what people need to realize is in this day and age of college sports, but especially basketball, how good your NIL collective is outweighs your program's history by a lot more than people are putting emphasis on. And what people don't realize is how much Cal had involved with NIL. And he burned a lot of bridges on his way out of the door. And it'll be very interesting to see how that aspect out of all of this is handled with the next coach. And the fact that you've got Scott Drew saying no, which isn't a massive surprise. And the fact that even a guy like Hurley, who nobody thought he would even take the job, the fact that, there's reports out there from credible sources saying he wouldn't even take it for $20 million a year. I mean, to me, there's just something internally that could be going on that we're not aware of. And I think it's more than NIL. It's more than just following in the footsteps of Cal. And as a Kentucky hater, this has been a great week. And I really do hope this carries on because, some of their most valued, people that cover the program are saying that they even may wait a whole nother week to talk to Billy Donovan. And I hope they do, because the longer this drags out, the happier I am.
Great call, by the way. Hey, Tom, we appreciate you joining the show. Hadn't heard you before. We hope you continue to keep it up and give those thoughts. Great thoughts there, Tom, on Kentucky. So, obviously, Tom doesn't like Kentucky, which is fair. I don't think a lot of people do, Diesel. But, the NIL collective, I do think that's an interesting point, because if you can turn a program around in 2024 and you have a guy like Tyson, a bag like Tyson chicken, are you kidding me? That might be a pretty quick turnaround situation.
Yeah, the guy that I couldn't pull his name out of the ether right there. I mean, North Carolina had their Matt Doherty guy.
Yeah.
Just did not live up to anything that had come before him at North Carolina. I mean, he wanted a 5.52 clip. But then they were able to go out and they were able to entice Roy Williams back. I mean, there will be those great names, even if Kentucky has to go through a couple of seasons, even if they have to take a risk on somebody, they will eventually be able to get that guy. The Blue Bloods stay the Blue Bloods for a reason. I mean, one of the only ones that I could think of, Cole, that never came back after essentially falling off for being a Blue Blood was UCLA. Like it blows me away that UCLA is not back and has never been back to being a power in college basketball. So, I mean, obviously somebody's going to take this job. Somebody is going to catch themselves a nice financial windfall.
But you'd think that, I mean, you would have thought that it'd be a little bit more. I mean, like all these people passing it up, is that saying something about the job?
But consider the fact that this used to be the typical timeline for hiring coaches. I mean, we now expect this knee jerk as soon as somebody retires. We want somebody in the next 24 hours, and we want the biggest name possible. To find the right guy to steward these programs, it takes time. So I do hope, and we see it now with, just how knee jerk some of the coaching hires that we see are, just how much money they throw at these guys and how oftentimes they're unsuccessful 2 or 3 seasons into their tenure. And it's because these programs aren't taking the due diligence that they should.
That's true.
To go out and hire the right guy. Again, Kentucky will be fine, much to the dismay of the caller. Kentucky will find the right guy eventually.
After today's news broke that Scott Drew had passed on Kentucky's offer, I tweeted out Bruce Pearl, your move, thinking, Bruce Pearl from Auburn should be a good fit. I think it'd be a really good fit. I had a couple of responses, but one of my favorite responses on Twitter came from Andrew. Andrew said, I think Billy Donovan is the next priority. You and I talked about that. I said a couple of days ago that I thought Billy Donovan would be the best fit. However, after I've had some time to think about it, Diesel, I don't know. I said back to Andrew, Billy's who they should hire, but once you make it to the league, Diesel, how much attraction is there to go from the league back down to college, especially with the crap show that is college athletics? That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
would you leave the NBA to go to college right now?
If the money was right and you felt a desire to get back into it, sure. I mean, with the NBA, they're not recruiting, they're just paying guys, and that's ultimately what it is in college basketball as well. So it's almost like his experience in the NBA might have prepared him a little bit more for how to recruit essentially college athletics free agents.
Yeah, it very well could have.
And of course, he's got the name, he's got the hardware, and a name like Billy Donovan certainly would make a splash. Maybe 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds don't know who he is, but man, as soon as they look up his resume and as soon as they come knocking on the door with Big Blue, I think they'll start paying attention. When we come back to Cole here on Wire to Wire, we're going to jump back into this conversation about the huge rash of arm injuries that we're seeing in Major League Baseball. And we know that the Players Association is asking for an inquiry into the pitch clock. and we'll get back into it. Maybe the pitch clock is not the reason why all these Tommy John surgeries are happening. We'll show you some data that shows if you're looking at that as a scapegoat, you're probably wrong. That's next here on Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryson. I'm Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. If you are a golf fan, this is your Christmas Day. This is your Daytona 500. This is your Super Bowl, day one of the Masters. You absolutely love to see how the course has opened up and the beautiful weather has taken hold in Augusta. Before we take a look at the Masters leaderboard, we're going to go straight to the tippy top of the Wire2Wire callers leaderboard and share a call that came earlier in the show. This is caller Bobby, who had a poem that he wanted to share for the first day of the Masters. And we gave him a standing ovation when it was live. I think you're going to want to give him a standing ovation hearing it on the playback. This is absolutely fantastic. Play the call.
His body is worn. His body is tattered, but with the strength of a bull, he has yet to shatter. For years we thought that the end was near, only for that Sunday red to soon reappear. Our hopes are as high as they have ever been. We've been here before, oh haven't we, my friend? There were the days when he reigned supreme. Augusta even had to change its course for a golfer so lean. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Augusta seemingly stands still, giving youth to the aging a chance at a final thrill. He told us this week, there's a reason I'm here, and if all goes well, the roars you will hear. In the morning we'll see Tom, Gary, and Jack. They'll stand on the first tee and give it a mighty whack. Then the field is off and away in pursuit of a jacket at the end of Sunday. And when the smoke settles, the fighting is done. We hope that golf's greatest player is basking in the sun. So here's to another run on golf's grandest stage as we hope that Tiger can turn back the page.
Wow.
That's
Love it.
fantastic, man.
That was so good. Bobby, you're going on the top of the leaderboard, and I think you're going to be there for a very long time.
I am so impressed.
Yeah.
Diesel, do you know how long it would take me to write a poem like that? Probably 6 months. I'm not kidding, man.
Could you give me a haiku?
I don't even know what a haiku is.
So
all right. In real time. Seriously, I have no idea. What is a haiku? Do you know, Diesel?
It's a short poem. There's a structure to it. It's like 3 syllables, 7 syllables, 3 syllables.
So a Japanese poem of 17 total syllables and 3 lines of 5, 7, and 5, traditionally evoking images of the natural world.
So here's what we're gonna do, Cole. We're gonna both write a haiku.
This is not good.
Yeah, we're gonna write a haiku.
Can I use AI?
No, you can't use AI. But we will write one, and coming up at 6:20, we're gonna do a replay of our interview from earlier in the show with Robert Linehan, regulatory writer and editor for XL Media. You're gonna hear that. It's an absolutely fascinating conversation. We're gonna close the show with our Masters haikus. Can we do that?
Oh, it has to be Masters related?
Yeah, I think it should be. Stick with the parlance of the day. I think it needs to be Masters.
So okay, let me read it again. 3 lines. 5, 7, and 5.
And you can evoke the natural beauty of the azaleas,
so
the bridge. Over
that's
the
short
creek.
though, right?
Yeah, it's
because 5 syllables, 7, and then 5.
It's very short.
17 syllables.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
I believe in you, Cole.
This is rough. This could be really, really
We're
rough.
gonna put your North Greenville education on full display.
All righty.
Are you a North Greenville alum as well? Man, I'm
so
in here.
You're App State.
Yeah, I'm an App State.
Who prepared the better haiku? Cole and Diesel. This could get bad.
We're gonna have a whole 20 minutes to get this figured out, Cole. So no excuse.
I need an example, please.
Can you use it in a sentence? So a quick look here at the leaderboard. Scotty Scheffler just left one short, which I believe would have been a par putt that would have tied him for the lead. We'll get an update on that. But Bryson DeChambeau leads. Scotty Scheffler one back in second place. Danny Willett in third place at -4. Will Zalatoris tied for fourth at -3 through 17. Let's see. Rory McIlroy at -2 through 16. Who else are you guys really interested in? I know you're interested in Tiger Woods. We'll get there here in just a second. Lucas Glover from Clemson is at -1. He has finished. Tony Finau -1. Let's see here.
Good grief. Somebody screwed me up, Diesel.
Justin Thomas even at tied for 30th.
I was second in my Masters pool with DeChambeau, Zalatorius, and Glover. I'm now 24th.
Wow.
Well, that was fun.
Falling back fast. But hey, good news is you can catch up, okay?
Now I'm done with the Masters.
Tiger Woods is at even through 7, playing very well. Tommy Fleetwood tied with him even through 7, or even through 4, excuse me. Phil Mickelson at +1. Love to see Phil Mickelson fail.
Does Phil still have anything left in the tank?
I mean, he's playing well through. He's only 1 round in, and he's +1. I think Phil is that name you bring out there. You know,
Sure.
he waves his hat in the air. Everybody's excited to see Phil Mickelson, but I don't think he's going to push for any more majors.
Let me ask you this question before we get to the next. Before we get to the MLB Tommy John stuff. If Tiger didn't win it, and we have to have an old big name, would it be Phil? Would that be the next old big name?
Yeah, I think so. He's probably the second biggest aging star. I mean, Fred Couples is in the Masters field today.
Yeah.
He's tied for 84th at +5. He is very unlikely to make the day 3 cut unless he just goes on a crazy run for day 2.
Well, even though my pool sucks, I'll still follow along. I'll still be in it for the pimento cheese sandwich Sunday.
Yeah,
How about that?
We had Mad Craft asked on the text line earlier. He said he missed our picks. Madcraft, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I have a pick.
I'll pick Sunday
to win. I mean, I like Rom. I think he's going to sit there in a position to where he may be able to make a push for this thing. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler. I would love to see Rory get this one, but I mean, it's still so early to make a pick on this thing. It's tough to say.
I'm going to pick Sunday about 5:30.
Okay. Well, we'll all be together.
True.
Hanging out, drinking some drinks,
Pimento
smoking some cigars,
cheese.
and eating some pimento cheese
Oh,
sandwiches over there at Rob Brown's house, man. It's going to be a blast. So yesterday we spent a lot of time talking about just how many players in Major League Baseball have already been taken out early this season with Tommy John surgery and elbow injuries. And the name, the list of names is big. Framber Valdez, Spencer Strider, Jonathan, I'm not going to get this guy's name right, Loaiziga, Nick Pivetta, Yuri Perez, Shane Bieber is out. Let's see here. Shohei Ohtani had an elbow injury. Jacob deGrom, big names, Luis Garcia, Felix Bautista, just big names that are already out early in the season with elbow injuries. And the question that we asked yesterday on the show, how much of this maybe is due to the shortened pitch clock in Major League Baseball? What were the numbers you had yesterday that the pitch clock was at 22 seconds, but the average is these guys are throwing the ball in about 15 seconds with 6-7 seconds left on the clock. They're pitching very fast, rapidly, not giving themselves a lot of time between pitches.
Yeah, I think it was decreased by 2 or 3 seconds as well. After the first year, I wish Diesel so badly. Like, one of the things that I don't want to say qualifies, but one of the traits of a man, one of the biggest traits of a man is he wants to do what? If there's a problem, he wants to fix the problem, right? If you
got a problem, I'll solve it.
Right. You want to solve the problem.
DJ revolves it.
I think that's a guy thing.
Yeah.
Women, not really the case, but a guy wants to solve the problem. Sometimes we don't listen as much as we should. We try to solve the problem, right? I think that my brain goes to the elbow situation with Tommy John in the sense of, look, I wish so bad we could figure this out. Like, I'm wired the same way. If there's a problem, I want to solve it. I want to figure out what we can do to solve it. And I want these pitchers to be in the game, because for a casual baseball fan, the MLB needs their stars. And right now, when you have guys like Cole and Verlander and Strider was probably the best rookie in the major leagues his first year. So you've got to have these guys in the game. And basically, Diesel, I don't know that there's a solution. We can blame the pitch clock. We can blame the curveball. And I know we were having this conversation earlier, and a texter wanted to chime in about Strider's curveball, and I get it. I really do. But as Diesel pointed out, the data shows this has been going on for a long time. It's not really just the pitch clock that's creating this uptick.
And it seems like, as you and I both know, that analytics have crept their way into everything involving sports. Coaches are making decisions on what to do in certain situations based on the analytics. We've seen guys who are pitching hot getting taken out of big games because the analytics said it was time to take these guys out. There's been so much priority over the past couple of seasons, Cole, placed on things like velocity and spin rate and swing and miss rates.
Sure.
That I think these guys, a lot of young pitchers starting out at the high school level and on up, are really prioritizing kind of excelling at those individual statistical categories.
Yeah.
So we have them chasing things like that. We have them, pushing to get a higher spin rate, pushing to get higher velocity. And, you've said it yourself. It's an unnatural motion to throw a baseball.
Sure.
And when you're pushing for something that, is on the upper edge of what the human body is capable of, that's where we start to see this increased number of injuries.
I want to go back to a text that we got about 3 hours ago. This texter said, we appreciate you listening, by the way. As an ex-pro, man, I'm telling you, it's coming from these kids playing more ball at a young age. Some travel teams are great. A lot are pay to play. I believe that text goes on, but
I would be fascinated to have a true study of this, and it would take 2 decades to really get the data on this. So it would be you would have had to start this study 20 years ago, before really travel ball became as massively popular as it is, to know just how many more injuries are coming from major leaguers who started out in the travel ball system, who are spending more and more time hyper focusing on disciplines.
I just I hear that. I read that text from someone who played in the professionals here in the upstate that's listening to us talk about this. And Diesel, it's so contradictory from I don't want to say from the parent standpoint, but we encourage kids to play sports at a young age. We encourage kids to pursue multi-sports.
We're encouraging them. No, I think a lot of kids now are being encouraged to focus on one sport.
Yeah, and I don't like that personally.
We're also dealing with kids who are getting burned out,
sure,
playing the same sport and hyper focusing on a sport at a young age. I think we're going to see that becoming more and more common, and it may be a reason why you get some players who are retiring out of their professional careers earlier because they've lost the joy for it. They're just burned out from it. So the reason why we brought this whole thing up, Cole, is that there was a report that was released from Travis Sawchik, who is a writer for The Score. He's the author of The MVP Machine and Big Data Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He says there's really not actually a surge in elbow injuries and Tommy John surgeries. He said this has been an issue now for the past decade. Now, there's a lot of fantastic data that he released here in this tweet, and his data actually goes all the way back to the year 2000, where he tracks both. But he tracks all pitchers at the pro level and breaks out major league pitchers and compares really the number of Tommy John surgery issues that we've had in the first 100 days of a calendar year. So just as baseball really ramps up and the season begins, comparing that from the year 2000 all the way up to 2024. So we got 24 seasons worth of data here. And it seemed to stay relatively consistent across the pro levels from 2000 to about 2013. You would average somewhere in between 12 and 25. 25 was the extreme. 24 was the extreme number of Tommy John surgeries among pro players. But really, we're talking about between 12 and 19. So do the math there. We're talking about 15 Tommy John surgeries per season around all professional baseball. That's all levels of professional baseball. But really, for some reason, around 2014, we saw this huge spike. We jumped from an average of 17 a season to in 2014, 38, 39. In 2018, there were 40. In 2021, there were 47 players who had Tommy John surgery in the first 100 days of the year. And they're averaging, since 2014, seven major leaguers a year are being taken out by Tommy John surgery. Now, this year, 2024, we've had 9 so far. So that would certainly, show a slight uptick. But, the numbers aren't really playing out or panning out and pointing towards pitch clock specifically as a reason as to why. I think it's hard to really kind of look at the data and really find a conclusive bit of evidence.
So in order for them to actually do studies in the majors on this, it would have to be so unrealistic. And that's why I don't think it'll ever happen. Like, if you want to do a study on Tommy John and elbow injuries and figure out how to lower the cases and how to prevent these things from happening as much, there are so many elements of the game you'd have to pick apart one at a time. And if you start with a pitch clock, before the pitch clock was invented, before the pitch clock was implemented, pitchers could take their time in their sets and delivering their pitches. But before that, all we heard was we need a pitch clock to enhance the viewership, enhance the product, the game itself for those tuning in. So my point is, you can't go back and say, okay, well, let's try to do away with the pitch clock and see if we can pinpoint exactly what's causing these, because the pitch clock's already implemented. What I'm saying is, Diesel, there's no way, in my opinion, for them to pinpoint what's actually causing these. What are they going to do? Like I said before, they can't limit curveballs. They can't go back on the pitch clock. There's nothing the major leagues can do about how many pitches guys are throwing in high school or at lower levels or in college. There's nothing they can do about velocity. It's one of those things where the MLB, their hands are tied.
Yeah.
And as much as we hate this, I don't know that there's much we can do about it.
Yeah, I think we find ourselves in basically it is what it is situation.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. And hey, it could happen a myriad of ways. A player could get injured and be taken out early in their career.
It sucks,
They're a
though.
promising player, but it sucks. Yeah.
And like I said, as a guy, as a radio show host, as someone who wants these pitchers to be in the game, I think, well, how could you figure it out? But you know what, man, I just, if there was a way to figure it out, to me, it seems like they would have already done so. But we'll see. I hope we don't lose any more, because Spencer Strider being out already stinks enough as it is. All right, coming up in the very next segment, in case you missed it earlier in the program, we talked to Robert Linehan. Robert is a regulatory writer and editor for XL Media. He writes and covers sports gambling. Diesel and I asked several questions about the issues we're facing right now with sports gambling and how it pertains to advertising. A lot of good stuff from Robert. We will have that interview for you next. Turn it on, leave it on. He's Diesel. I am Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. over 16 million that was stolen out of Shohei Ohtani's bank account. Your instant reaction to that, Robert?
Well, thanks for having me on. I guess my instant reaction would be that it must be a hell of a life to not be able to instantaneously know that $16 million is missing from your bank account. That would be my first reaction to the whole thing here. But the whole thing, it's bad on Shohei's part that he didn't notice that this was going on, and he let it get this far. But of course, bad on the translator's part because, look, I mean, he obviously had a problem. He was stealing millions upon millions of dollars from basically his employer and friend from everything that I've heard. So it's a sad situation all around. But what is also getting sort of confused in this whole thing is, a lot of people are saying this is a detriment to sports betting, to gambling, but it should be said and it should be stressed that this was all unregulated gambling. This was with a bookie. This was with, an unlicensed operator, so to speak. So, there are protections in place with regulated markets, with regulated sports betting where, something like this may have been flagged. It might have been a little more difficult for his interpreter to get a hold of his, a sports betting account in his name and spend all this money. So, that should be stressed that this was certainly not something that happened in the regulated world of sports betting.
Robert Linehan covers sports gambling for XL Media, joins us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Robert, you can't turn on a radio station or a TV station or go on any website without seeing ads for DraftKings. As a matter of fact, my 9-year-old nephew came up to me a few weekends ago and asked me, what is DraftKings? Because his YouTube his YouTube account is showing him DraftKings ads. To your knowledge, is there any attempt to regulate the tremendous amount of money that the gambling industry is spending on advertising? Because it's literally everywhere. And we've had people positing that the more and more of this we see, the more and more illegal sports gambling we're going to see, the more and more players are going to grow up hearing about this constantly, and it'll just become part of the social experience.
Sure. Well, of course, yeah, there have been some recent attempts to regulate sports betting advertisements. I mean, there was a very famous one about a year ago where a New York politician floated a federal bill that would ban all sports betting advertisements from TV and internet. Obviously, it didn't gain a whole lot of traction, but what you're seeing on a more local basis is, states, and the first that really comes to mind for me are Ohio and Massachusetts, where regulators are basically taking it into their own hands to sort of not really stem, the tide of sports betting ads, but to basically steer them away from vulnerable populations. There are laws on the books in both of those states where they can't be advertisements on college campuses. You can't have advertisements without disclaimers in venues where there is going to be potentially a large population of people that are under 21. I mean, you see in Boston at Fenway, they have disclaimers on a couple ads that are at, especially I think there's a couple ads on the Green Monster that now have 21 and over disclaimers. Whether or not this actually does anything to, stem the tide of young people wanting to participate in sports betting, I don't think of that. I think that remains to be seen. But, there are states now that are really trying to put some restrictions on who is seeing these ads, what the ads are targeting, what populations the ads are targeting. So it's certainly on everyone's minds. And bringing, if you bring it back to Shohei and you bring it back to all of these other incidents that we're seeing, the Toronto Raptors player that's sort of embroiled in a scandal right now, some of the college basketball investigations you saw this year, you could see something potentially federally happening. I don't know if that's going to happen for sure, but it's definitely something that is on, certainly politician and lawmakers' minds. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw sort of another heavy push to regulate these ads more in the line of Canada and England that have some very severe restrictions on sports betting ads in their country.
Hey, Robert, I want to get to a tweet that you sent out earlier today. You can find him on Twitter at @RLinehanXL. This is fascinating. This tweet says, according to a report commissioned by the Campaign for Fairer Gambling, more than $4.3 billion was bet on March Madness illegally. Again, $4.3 billion illegally on March Madness. The tweet goes on to say data showed 378 illegal operators and 651 affiliates claimed 64% of the total market share, with just 2.4 billion bet legally. So this is fascinating, but I want to know, is there an attempt by anyone to regulate these illegal gambling sites? And if so, how are they finding how much money is being put on illegal gambling?
Well, that was a press release. It's not my study, so I can't really get into the nitty-gritty details of what the study, how they got those numbers, how I believe the company that produced that study was called Yield SEC. But basically, so your question was how are people betting, or what's being done to regulate these illegal operators? I mean, the simple answer there is, basically what's being done is what North Carolina did this past year to regulate and pass legalized sports betting in a state. I actually contacted the people that put out that study because I'm really interested to see if they have like a state-by-state breakdown of what those numbers are, because I'd be very interested to see how much was bet in California, how much was bet in Texas, the two largest states and the two largest markets that currently have that don't offer regulated sports betting. But the answer to your question is simply when how it's regulated is politicians decide that hey, look, we're actually going to put some safeguards on sports betting in our state. We're actually going to put protections for consumers in our state by passing a legalized sports betting bill, and ensuring that the states are benefiting from these billions of dollars that are being bet illegally with offshore unregulated books, and making sure that a percentage of the revenues coming in is going to people that may have a problem gaming addiction, that may need help. That's sort of what's being done to regulate the offshore and the unregulated markets where people are placing bets. I mean, look, let's be honest. These are books that are in other countries. The U.S., the federal government is not going to spend a lot of resources, not going to spend a lot of time trying to hunt these people down and shut them down. I mean, it's almost an impossibility. You'd spend, millions upon millions of dollars to shut one down, and then someone just opens up another one in a country where the regulations are, more sparse. So the best way to do it is to have a safeguard in a state, pass a bill, make sure there are protections in there, and offer your customers, offer your residents legalized sports betting. So that's the best answer, and that's the best solution in my opinion.
So, Robert, I want to dig a little bit deeper on that. We're speaking to Robert Linehan, regulatory writer and editor for XL Media. We had a few weeks ago the news come out that Charlie Baker, president of the NCAA, wants to eliminate prop betting on college athletes, and he wants it to be regulated at the state level. Louisiana has already approved measures like that. It's being considered in other states as well. Is there data that suggests where money that's currently being placed on college prop bet player bets in states where it's legal to do so might go if that's eventually banned in those states? I mean, is it something that it's going to push legal players to want to bet player props illegally? Or in most situations, do players, if something that they used to be able to bet on legally becomes illegal, they just shift their money over to a different form of legal betting?
I'd say it's more the latter, because the money that's being spent on these individual college player props is not a lot. It's not a big market. It's not a big money market for operators right now. One of the states that banned, and one of the first states that banned individual college player props after Charlie Baker, sort of put that out there, was Ohio. And Ohio did a pretty extensive study on just how much money is bet in a year legally on those particular markets. I believe it was found that in 2023, less than 2% of all money bet was bet on individual college player props. It's not a lot of money. So I don't think you're going to see a tidal wave of players leaving the regulated market to go spend millions upon millions of dollars with an offshore book just because they can't, bet on, an over/under on Marvin Harrison Jr. or something. The money just isn't there to prove that. I think this is going to be the next wave of regulation that you're going to see states sort of flocking to. I wrote something last week. Louisiana is going to place a prohibition on college prop bet or individual college player prop bets in August. New Jersey, Kansas, Wyoming, they've all said that if the NCAA reaches out to them, which they said they will, they would have an open mind and consider a prohibition as well. One of the only states that didn't get back to me was North Carolina. I don't know what North Carolina wants to do with this. I mean, they just opened sports betting about a month ago today. I don't know if they're going to look to change their rules this quickly. I think they might let it play out and see exactly how much money is being bet on this market. There's this market that's, troubling the NCAA. But I don't think the money aspect, I don't think the handle aspect really shows that too many players are going to be flocking to an illegal sports book to bet on individual college player props.
Hey, Robert, I'm fascinated with one of your stories about the new and first ESPN Bet retail sports book. I mean, what has this turned into? Like a retail store, right? You're going at the mall, and all of a sudden, bam, ESPN Bet retail sports book. Is this a mini casino? And what does ESPN, from your knowledge, how do they plan on replicating this across the country?
Well, a retail sports book is just simply a brick and mortar sports book. So it's at that particular sports book you're talking about is at the Hollywood Casino in Greektown in Detroit. Basically, the crux of that story was just that this will be the first ESPN Bet brick and mortar sports book that it will be open to the public. I think it's going to open on the day before the NFL draft. But in terms of what you're absolutely going to see. I think Penn Entertainment, the parent company, the company that partnered with ESPN to bring about ESPN Bet, they have about 32 sports books across the country, mostly in Hollywood casinos. You're definitely going to see the transition. They obviously used to have a partnership with Barstool, and most of their sports books were Barstool sports books. So now you're absolutely going to see a transition for these freestanding brick and mortar retail sports books to ESPN Bet. I know that was one of their strategies to, basically have people have more eyes on the ESPN Bet brand. But that was simply just, hey, look, this is the first one. It's opening a day before the NFL draft. Go check it out. The NFL draft is also in Detroit. So it was just a little noteworthy story there.
Robert, we saw the women's tournament this year see its highest ratings ever. We saw it set records for the most money ever bet on women's sports. Now that women's sports has really captured America's attention, what do you think will happen with betting on women's sports? Do you think now that it's reached these new heights, it'll stay there? Or do you think as, some of the big stars like Caitlin Clark are leaving to go into the WNBA, Angel Reese as well, do you think that that tide will stem just a little bit?
I don't know. That's a really good question because there are two schools of thought for that. Pretty much every single operator that I was in contact with said that this women's tournament and Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, they generated more money and more buzz and more interest in women's college basketball than any other athlete ever before. I mean, that game, the women's college championship, and then the Iowa State versus LSU. I mean, that was by far, for many operators, their most bet game of the day, by far, and one of the most bet events in March, since March Madness began this year. I mean, men and women's combined. So, there's a school of thought there that is it because of the players? I mean, you had some very intriguing storylines, obviously, with Caitlin Clark, who had a lot of interest this year. And like you said, Angel Reese, you had the big rematch of Iowa State and LSU, and then the, Iowa State and I'm blanking on North Carolina State, or was it South Carolina State that won the championship? I'm blanking.
South Carolina.
It's been a long day. Excuse me?
It was South Carolina, Iowa. Yeah.
South Carolina. Yeah, you had sort of the Dawn Staley, South Carolina State revenge tour that they were just hoping to play Iowa State again. So there were a lot of interesting storylines for that. But like you said, I mean, you have two of these extraordinarily popular women's players going to the WNBA, and it's going to be interesting to see if the money follows them. I mean, I would imagine when Caitlin Clark makes her debut, you're going to be seeing a lot of prop bets on Caitlin Clark over under threes made, and probably the majority being on the over. I mean, those two athletes, they pretty much piqued interest in women's college basketball more so than anyone has, in the last 2 decades. I mean, it was unbelievable just the amount of ratings they were doing, the amount of money that was being spent on those games. So I think you'll definitely see an uptick in betting in the WNBA. It remains to be seen next year if sort of the interest will stay with women's college basketball. I don't know if you're going to have those types of, marquee players and stories being around next year. I mean, you may have to wait another year or two to sort of get, some as intriguing of characters as Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese. So I think you'll definitely see an uptick in WNBA betting interest. I think interest in college women basketball on the betting side may sort of level out next year without them, but I hope I'm wrong. I mean, it was very refreshing to see so much of an interest in the sport and to see so much buzz for the tournament this year.
Yet. Don't bring it up yet. Leave it down. And then in 4 seconds, you can bring it up.
What's the buzz here at 6:48 on a Thursday afternoon? It's Wire to Wire. I'm Diesel. He across the way is Cole Bryson. Getting you caught up on today's Daily Wires. O.J. Simpson at 76 years old has lost his fight with cancer, prostate cancer, took out the juice. Man, whatever you think about his off the field activities, he was somebody's father. And so you got 3 kids who are now reeling after the loss of a father. He was an all-time great. If you can separate the art from the artist, he was an all-time great on the field, averaged 146 yards a game. The dude was an absolute monster on the football field. Some of you would say he was a monster off the football field as well. But O.J. Simpson has passed away.
God, Diesel.
I didn't say
you
it.
went there.
Some people said it. Some people say it. I didn't say it. I'm like anthropomorphizing people in the audience who are saying terrible things about O.J. Simpson.
Sure.
Let's see. WNBA has announced that 36 of the Indiana Fever's 40 regular season games will be on national television, and that is because
Caitlin Clark.
She's
that big of a deal, man.
She will be the number 1 overall pick going to the Indiana Fever, and they will get all but 4 of their regular season games on national television. You said last year they had one game on national TV. I'm going to be real with you. I've never actually sat and watched a WNBA game.
A full game, I have not either.
I probably will not watch a WNBA game with Caitlin Clark. I'm just going to be totally honest with you.
I'll watch. I probably won't watch the whole thing. Like, how good's the team going to be?
Not good.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. I mean,
is Caitlin Clark? Caitlin Clark can single-handedly win college games. Can she single-handedly win WNBA?
I'll tell you what'd be crazy.
Probably
And I don't wish this on her. But what if this is terrible? What if she was the biggest bust ever and just absolutely sucked? Would people not be let down or what?
Well, I mean, I think the Fever would get their money's worth out of her, getting 36 games on TV, getting a whole bunch of endorsement deals and tickets sold because of it. So I don't think she'll end up being a bust. And shoot or shoot, she's going to do fine. She may have to change her game. Again, I haven't watched enough WNBA to know like what the pro game is like at that level. I'm sure there's not a whole lot of beating and banging and physicality. So if she can stay outside,
big man inside.
Yeah. I know you're a big fan of that one. Let's see here. Masters round 1 is underway. A lot of these guys have already wrapped up. Bryson DeChambeau is your overall leader at -7. Scotty Scheffler failed to hit a birdie putt on 16. So he finished his round -6. A lot of people want to know where some of the other big names in the sport are. Rory McIlroy is tied for 15th. He is finished at -1. Tiger Woods also finished. Not finished, but Tiger Woods is at -1 through 9. We'll see what he does for the rest of his round. The Masters, exciting, man. It's exciting now that we're all back and watching highly competitive golf. We have the LIV and the PGA guys all together. We're definitely going to be following the storylines. Can a LIV golfer win the Masters? It hasn't happened yet, but it could happen. The leader on the day, Bryson DeChambeau, is a LIV golfer. Ricky Fowler won the par 3 contest, and no golfer has ever won the par 3 and gone on to win the Masters. I'm going to do a quick scan.
That's unbelievable.
Cole, and see if I can find out where Ricky Fowler is on the leaderboard. So take over for me for just a second.
Ricky Fowler's in Augusta. You said where Ricky Fowler is. I'll tell you this. I'm surprised, as good as those golfers are, I am very surprised that somebody hasn't won.
Yeah, he's unlikely to come back and win this one. He has finished his round, an opening round +4, tied for 76th. So it seems like that's going to hold true. That a par 3 winner has never won the Masters.
A loaded show coming your way tomorrow. We appreciate you being a part of today's show, Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. We will finish the week off strong on a Tolo Friday tomorrow. Join us 3 p.m. on Wire to Wire. Okay.
Tolos, thanks for watching the
Now,
entire show. Thank you much for being here
fire off
all day. We love you
Yep.
guys, and we couldn't do it
Okay.
without you.
Now,
We
slowly
honestly
pull
couldn't. So do us a favor. Anytime you see us posting content on our social medias, we're trying to get a lot more video shorts out there for you guys. Anytime you see that stuff, do us a favor and share it wherever you can. Tell people about it. Send it to people. That would be really, really awesome of you. Thanks for watching today. We'll be back tomorrow to do it one more time this week.